Okay, we're back with the podcast again. This time it's an ADCC special. I'm in California, and the reason I'm here is mainly because of the ADCC. We're gonna talk a little bit more about the ADCC in the beginning, about the history of the ADCC, the origins, and I think no better than Director Extraordinaire Bobby Razak with me, who is working on an ADCC series for a while now.
With you.
Since,
I like that.
I know, since 2014, March 2014. So March 2020 is going to be 6 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Long time, yeah.
I think we're both encyclopedias, or we should be, right?
Should be, yeah. I think I am.
We've talked to countless guys and who are part of the history and stuff. Let me start with this. So basically, for people who are casual fans, maybe people who watch MMA but not grappling, the ADCC, or the Abu Dhabi Combat Club Championships, was a tournament or an event, submission grappling, submission wrestling, whatever you want to call it, that was created by His Highness Sheikh Tahnoum bin Zayed Al Nahyan in 1998 was the first one. But obviously you have to watch the series when it comes out to know exactly how it was conceptualized, right? And since then it became the Olympics of grappling, basically. If you talk to any grappler out there,
benchmark.
Yeah,
the benchmark.
Me and you have been to a lot of events, and we've seen how hard it is for these guys to compete. Some of them crying backstage, some of them getting injured and not fighting months after the event is over. So it feels like the equivalent of a MMA event, maybe worse sometimes, right? Because you fight more. It's not one fight. It's
very gladiatorial was the feeling I felt.
When did you feel was gladiatorial? Which event?
2015 in Sao Paulo.
Because of the mats, right?
Yeah, the
puzzle mats. It was like an underground feeling, you know. This is the thing with ADCC. You don't know what to expect. Apparently this one is going to be very different. I've heard there's going to be 4,000 spectators watching.
Pretty amazing.
A lot of media coming, a lot of videographers or whatever. But
I'm going to be there filming.
Obviously, you've been there for the last two as well. Finland was great. Right?
Finland was nicer.
So I don't know how.
Finland.
Do you think this is going to top that?
I'm hoping so. I like the color palette of Finland. I didn't like the yellow mats. It felt very dirty. Felt very grimy. It didn't really work well with the camera. But Finland felt a bit more polished to me. They say China was not very great too, the mats.
I was in China. Maybe the crowd wasn't even big in China. This one is going to be on another level. 2005, if you remember, was here in California as well. The crowd was crazy. A lot of celebrities in the stands. I think we can't go wrong with this one. Even production-wise, I've heard that this will be something not done since the early days in Abu Dhabi, production-wise. But going back to the history, when Sheikh Tahnoum created this initially, a lot of Brazilians that were training with him and training him jiu-jitsu mainly were trying to convince him to do a gi event, right? Remember that story? And he was like, no way. If we're going to do an event, I want to test you guys, right? Without the gi.
Absolutely.
And that's the rest is history, as they say, and that's how it happened. The rules evolved. You remember in the beginning how the rules were kind of confusing to a lot of people.
Very, very confusing.
The matches were
-1 points, the takedown. The good part is not pulling guard. Sheikh Tahnoum didn't like pulling guard, obviously. So he felt that if you're going to do something, you need to physically take someone down. So he kept a lot of wrestling there, which is, Marco's influence too. Ricardo Rona had a little bit of the wrestling influence. So the rules were a little confusing,
And today, I think, because of this event, and you might agree with me based on the research we've done, 1998 was a time where, mixed martial arts was not even called MMA, right? It was still NHB.
NHB.
So the grappling wasn't a big thing in NHB at the time. Nobody understood what was going on except for what Hoist did in 93.
Cross grappling, they didn't really know.
So
cross grappling.
When ADCC came about, it was like, that mixed martial arts as a term, you can say mixed grappling arts for ADCC because that's what it really is, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Sheikh Tahnoum, basically, and the Abu Dhabi royal family thought about having it were the grappling arts, sambo, judo, jiu-jitsu, even sumo was there, Japanese jiu-jitsu was there. Just get Greco-Roman, even
freestyle,
catch wrestling, everything. So it was basically mixed grappling arts. So when it happened, according to many people we've talked to, and I don't want to give too much, but the series is amazing.
We have a trailer potentially.
So the the grappling in ADCC probably propelled and elevated grappling within mixed martial arts. Do you agree with me on
Yeah,
that?
it's kind of almost the equivalent of UFC 1. How UFC was kind of like a beta testing for all these martial arts. The first ADCC was very beta testing for all the grappling arts too. So it's kind of like a similar parallel. And actually UFC 1 was a major factor for His Royal Highness too.
Yeah.
So he, was fascinated by Hoist and all that. But yeah, I think it was like very similar. He had all these grappling styles and he wanted to push it together and see, what really works. And really there is no real work. There is no real definitive grappling style, is there, right?
A lot of criticism, goes to how the event has become more jiu-jitsu oriented. Do you agree with that, by the way? I don't agree with it because I still see the rules very different than a jiu-jitsu tournament. But a lot of people are like, a lot of jiu-jitsu guys get invited. But, the organizers keep telling me that somebody's knocking on the door. Maybe one of the upcoming guests, or no, it's not.
Yeah, I told you she'd be on time.
Oh, she is here. Yeah. Let's keep it rolling, man.
Yeah. So
this is the beauty of podcasts, by the way. On TV, this is like, if this happens, it's like, oh, go to commercial, right?
Yeah.
But
now check our phone.
Yeah, we can check the phone.
Yeah, relax.
Jessica Flowers is about to join us, and we'll talk to her in a bit and explain who she is and what she's done so far.
Amazing jiu-jitsu.
But before she comes in, going back to our question about, do you feel like because jiu-jitsu is the superior grappling art, that's why you see a lot of jiu-jitsu guys in ADCC?
I think because the roots of Abu Dhabi is so interwoven with Brazilian jiu-jitsu and Sheikh Tahnoon's evolution, it's kind of by default. I think maybe a lot of wrestlers don't really know about it too. I don't think like a Jordan Burroughs really knows what the ADCC is. Maybe he's never got an invite. It's complicated, I think the roots of ADCC is so interwoven with jiu-jitsu. It's been a natural rise. It's been a natural evolution for jiu-jitsu athletes. Once in a blue moon, I've noticed we'll see like some Mongolian wrestler. I know that there was a Mongolian guy that fought Cabrino a few times.
Yeah.
So you'll see like
some Russians,
a Russian, Chechnyan guys that are coming in, but you don't see like the big names. Ben Askren. Jordan, I would love to have Jordan Burroughs in there. I think it'd be amazing, and I think he could do very well.
Does he want to do submissions though? That's the question.
Well, I think he can do a lot of stuffing too. I think look at Mark Kerr. Mark Kerr was not a great submission guy, but he held you. You know what I mean? He can hold you in position, and he could play with the rules. Jessica Flowers in the house.
Jessica, it's okay. It's a podcast. Feel free to come in. Feel free to come in. Nothing formal.
The champ is here.
Nothing formal. How you doing?
Who's out there?
Her husband, right? Your husband?
So Donald Flowers
is here too. The stars are here too.
Who else is there?
Tayani.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Over there?
Yeah,
we can go back over there.
So we'll speak to Jessica. Is she ready? Yeah.
Relax. Like suddenly.
I'll try my best to have a good English.
No, it's okay. You're very exciting on social media. Very funny. We follow your posts. One of the funniest jiu-jitsu people on the
Absolutely.
internet.
I was telling you how funny Jessica is. Jessica's hilarious.
Okay, so Jessica Flowers, who's going to compete in the over 60 kilogram division in the ADCC this weekend. Everyone knows Jessica for beating Gabby Garcia, the first one in a long time, right? We were there.
215 Sao Paulo. I filmed that match.
2015 Sao Paulo with the she almost threw her off, right? With the throw.
Yeah.
And that was the loudest I've ever heard. Maybe the crowd in Sao Paulo.
With nuts.
I remember that. Yeah. And she might not have been happy with the decision, but you beat her nonetheless. You fought many times later, or twice later, I think in the gi, right? Nothing without the gi. Yeah. Actually, one time in ADCC without the gi. Yeah. And there is a possibility you might fight her again this weekend. So before we go over that, your preparations, your training camp, how did it go? You're training in Gracie Baja here. How is everything going on?
Was good. Yeah. I do my conditioning training in the mornings, and I go to Notre to train on Romulo Barral. Sometimes I go to Professor Orlando Academy too. And I train together my students too, like anything, nothing special. Just train together my students. Was good train for me.
And I've seen you train with Orlando once, and it was pretty savage. I was surprised.
I've seen training together, you mean?
Yeah.
Sparring together?
Yeah, Orlando was pretty hard on her, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Orlando doesn't play with her. And I thought maybe he'll pull back a little bit with you, but he beat your ass pretty good. I was surprised.
Yeah, everybody at the academy.
Yeah. No, but he
don't give a chance for anyone.
but I was like, man, maybe Elena's gonna like let her try to work something. But no, he was crushing Jessica. And I think that's why Jessica's so tough, because training with guys like that who are beating you so hard, you know, who are way bigger and stronger than you, your mental toughness is strong. I feel you're a very mentally strong person, because I noticed with the Gabby Garcia fight, you had to come through a lot of adversity in the beginning. It was a tough match. She put a lot of pressure, but you held in there, you continued, and then you found a way. And I think that's because of the way you train. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's true. When I live in Manaus at the time, I just train the guys all the time. I live together so many guys at the time too. And my professor is really go hard on me, and this is because what for me was easy. Some people don't have how I say, the mental is something to be there. Yeah. I see a lot of guys cry, wanna back home because he can stay there to train, and I just look at the guys and say, okay, I think you're the girl here.
So Donald is a pretty tough guy then, huh?
Sometimes, yeah, half.
Who's a boss? You or Donald? Who's a boss?
Me.
Another thing. So you, Gracie Baja, how is it training with a team that has a few guys going into the ADCC? You have Felipe, who's in a super fight, training hard for the fight against Galvao, and you have maybe some other guys, Gabriel Argis, I feel, right? How does it feel? Do you train exclusively with them, or are there any other guys that help you out during the week?
No, have nothing like exclusive. They train to get all these students too, and not having, like I say, not having anything special. Just train hard, and that's it. It's good.
And when you talk about the division, you have Gabby obviously in there. You have Tayani, who I saw outside with you.
She might be worth talking to too.
Who is now like a colleague of yours, a partner in the same team. She was in Alliance back in the day, so you guys are training together now. And people say that you or Tayani are the only realistic chance of beating Gabby in this division. That's what they say. But there are also other big names. Nadieli beat Gabby recently, I think. Was it in the gi, in Fight to Win?
In the gi.
Yeah, so some pretty good names that are involved in the over 60 kilogram. How do you see yourself this time? Do you prefer having Gabby this time in the final, or because you always fought her in the semis? Yeah.
For me,
whatever comes. You're gonna fight her eventually, whether it's
whatever for me, and have a lot really good girls. I don't think so just me or Tayani can beat her. I think the other girls too have a lot of really strong girls, and whatever's coming, it's okay for me.
And based on what happened in 2015, do you think you can do you have a strategy? Like, how do you beat someone like Gabby? I mean, I've never seen Gabby on her back. Is that a strategy that somebody could do? Put Gabby on her back?
Tough.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened there. I don't know. I just train. That's it. Training the big guys at the academy, and when I see the chance there, I try to take her back, or I try some few takedowns too, but not have any plans.
So you're not a strategist. You're a realist. You go in the fight, and whatever happens in the fight.
Yeah.
So the first 5 minutes for you is like the studying the opponent phase. Yeah. That's what you do, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Bobby? That's a good...
I agree. I mean, to what I saw with her in 2015, you can't really have a plan against Gabby. She's a phenom. She's like strong. She's like 6'4". She's a mountain. So what I noticed with Jessica, she had to endure pain. It was like a pain thing. Like, you take the pain and you keep looking for an opportunity. And when that opportunity came, she takes it. Did you fight Gabby 217 too?
Yes.
Yeah.
That one was a little bit different for you. I don't think you got the opportunity at that time. It was like a little different match.
Yeah, the result was a little weird, but whatever.
You had a little what?
The result, the fight was a little bit...
Oh, yeah. So a decision, yeah.
Got it, yeah.
But it's okay.
Right. But in 215, for me, it was a clear victory because of the final move, the throw. But, I don't think you can really have a game plan against someone like Gabby. It's like trying to fight Deontay Wilder in boxing. You know you're going to get hurt. You know you're going to get hit. And then, you got to find pressure within that storm to go look for something. And I think that's why, Orlando probably trains hard with you like that, because he's trying to mimic that Gabby. He's giving you no chance to breathe. And then, that's how it is with her, right?
Yeah.
I mean, her pressure must be very intense, right?
Oh, yeah, she's really strong.
Yeah. Is there any part when you're competing against her that you feel like you're cracking up and I've got to find something to do and like maybe just hold a little longer? Is it very mentally?
Yeah, sometimes it happen like
I can imagine.
Oh, what the hell am I doing here right now? Oh shit! Oh, she's going past. Oh my god! Oh, what am I doing here? It's happened a lot. Yeah. So many things come to my mind like, oh my god. This is not easy. It's really hard.
So you can't really relax within the match at any point, right?
No, never relax.
What about like your, training for ADCC? I'm sorry, I have to ask you sometimes some casual questions, like questions that you wouldn't get from a hardcore jiu-jitsu follower, But sometimes a lot of people that are maybe MMA enthusiasts or like casual jiu-jitsu guys, they want to learn stuff like this, like training for an ADCC event and training for a jiu-jitsu event with the gi. What's different for you? Like, how do you train for both differently? Is it simply no gi versus gi? That's it? Or
not have anything, for me, not have anything different, because I come for like my academy in Brazil. You train every day gi, no gi, and I don't have problem. And I still train in gi too, because I need to teach classes, and I teach classes in the gi. And I go doing my no-gi classes, and I don't have problem. Just not having anything. Just take off the gi. That's it.
But the thing is, you can't pull guard, right? Do you train wrestling?
But I'm a good person on no-gi standing, and the gi I like pull guard.
Okay.
Yes, but
because if you fought Gabby with a gi, you would have a bit more control. You could probably find a place
the pull guard is more
relaxation
control.
there. Yeah. Try to slow her down.
No-gi, I like it. Standing.
Like a sweat, can't control.
Yeah.
What do you think of the women's division? Are you satisfied with having 2 divisions in the ADCC, or you would like to see more divisions introduced in the future?
I think I would like to see more divisions. It would be nice. It would be like, sometimes it's not fair for some girls, need to lose some weight for make 60 kilos.
Like Anna Carolina Vieira is in that division. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
What's the difference? Gabby's like overweights them by a lot.
She's really light.
Natieli is maybe a bit.
The division disparity in weight is pretty brutal, I think.
What about an absolute trivia question? I think one event in ADCC history had a women's absolute, believe it or not, and Hannette Stack won that division.
Cool.
And so
what year was that, by the way? What year was that?
2007, New Jersey. So
in many ways, the women's division in ACC is kind of absolute-ish anyway, because of the disparity in weight.
Yeah.
There's always an absolute feel, right?
Yeah.
Because the weight can be so up and down, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. 2007, I started doing wrestling.
Yeah, I know. I learned that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you
I was
moved
in wrestling. I have 20. I know. I was 16 or 15. I don't know. I think I'm 15 years old at the time.
Oh wow, really? Nice.
What type of wrestling? Freestyle, Greco-Roman?
Freestyle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you already have at least the basics.
Yeah.
That's good.
I come to wrestling. Yeah.
I feel I could tell when she fights, she's looking to keep it standing and control that narrative there.
Yeah.
That's what I've noticed from filming you over the years.
Yeah.
You've trained with Felipe. How do you see that super fight going? What's your prediction for that super fight?
I'll be awesome. The both guys is really strong, and I can't wait to see these guys fight. It'll be awesome fight.
I'm picking Galval, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's probably picking Felipe.
Yeah, of course.
I think Galval is the best karma for the super fight. For some reason, everything seems to flow from him in a day.
This is his last fight, by the way.
Last fight, but I filmed him for 2 super fights. Everything just goes really well for him. He always seems to have like good karma. I mean, from the preparations, when he gets in the arena, the way he shuts himself off, everything just seems to very much flow for him. He's very lucky in terms of how he flows. This is what I've noticed the last 2 ADCCs.
You never know. There's a good rivalry between Felipe and Andre. They fought many times. I was there in the gi in Abu Dhabi when Felipe beat him. So there's kind of this competition between them. So it's going to be a good fight.
I think Gabal's a no-gi guy, though.
Let's see.
Yeah.
What about... there was some controversy with Flo Grappling, our good friends at Flo Grappling, when they posted who is the GOAT, the greatest of all time in no-gi grappling history, and they didn't include a lot of people on there, including Felipe wasn't there, Braulio wasn't there, Arona, but I'm talking about Gracie Bajas because she's. What do you think of that? Is there a no-gi grappling GOAT?
For me, like I always say to the girls too, like I don't think so. Everybody's good.
As an opinion, right?
All the guys is good. Like, and you put something, but the guy here the best, the other one the best, and the people start fighting because, who's the best? I think everybody's good. I don't need to have like who's the most. For me, everybody's good.
Yeah.
I think who's win the open class, the best. Is
during
the king.
that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
The open class is, of course. Right,
during that moment.
Yeah, for me, the open class, the guys are the best. Like, who's win this year? The world champion was Natieli. She's the queen because she's winning the world, the open class. The next year is gonna be the next all the girls, and every year change. And people just to fight for this. Like, I see some people's comments and people say some dirty shit. They're like, why you say that? Like, everybody have your time. Yeah. Everybody's winning your own time. Like, don't need to fight for this.
I really want Flo to put in a female no-gi. I want to see the comments on that. If it's going to be as ruthless as the men's.
Sure. You got to put Kira and Hanette in that. You know, and that.
Yeah, Gabby, Kira.
Gabby too.
I mean, a lot of, again, as she said, whoever... won most titles, and maybe at the Absolute, there was one Absolute event.
When Leon Spinks beat Muhammad Ali in 1978, he said to him, "You might be the greatest, but I'm the latest." So it's kind of like what you're saying, like you are the champion at the time. So.
So what are your plans now from now until the event? Is that it? No more training, or?
No, I still train. I stopped training Thursday, and I still teach.
Light.
How is that teaching? While you have a competition, is that normal?
For me, it's normal. Yeah, not having. I know. Try and make anything special.
Whatever keeps
money.
You in the gym, right?
I need to make money. I can't stop it. Like just train and focus something, and I don't have a good sponsor to pay me money just for train. Some like all the people just train. I need to work.
What's the cash prize for the ADCs, do you know? For the women? I believe it's 10. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
10 for
the
money.
10 for the winner, I think, right?
10K and then 5. Is it 5?
7 and
you got
5.
silver in Finland?
I think it was 3 or 2. I don't remember.
It's, would you like that to be equal one day, like the IBJJF?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think of that? The IBJJF, the equal pay system that they just made with the...
This is nice. Depends how many people go to the division, the division, and it's good. Of course, not have a lot of girls like the men's.
But why? Like, this is my question. Why don't we
I don't know.
Is it maybe the most of the girls are in the color divisions? They're coming up?
Yeah.
So maybe in 5 years, we're going to see a lot of...
Probably,
Okay.
An explosion.
So basically, you are a pioneer. You're like the girls that set the stage.
Yeah. Because when I started doing jiu-jitsu, not have a lot of girls. I do some... today I see some categories I have 10 girls, and in my time, just have 2. 1.
Wow.
Now I have a lot of girls. All the time is growing more and more. This is good for jiu-jitsu.
Do you have any sponsors, or what is the sponsorship for women right now in jiu-jitsu? How does that work?
I have some sponsor, the AP, the place I do my conditioning train. Let me see, the Monk Tape too.
Pretty slim though. Is it a slim kind of?
Yeah, it was good sponsors.
Yeah.
I haven't had anything to complain about it.
Got it. Obviously, you like more though, and just to keep going bigger and better, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be an interesting time.
Interesting time, yeah.
I'll leave you with a last message. I don't want to keep you here for too long. You train, and you any message you want to send out to anyone, fans, people watching. My show is based from Abu Dhabi, so a lot of maybe people are going to be watching from the Middle East. Plus, anyone you want to issue a
sponsors for Jessica in the Middle East, please come grab her. Sponsorship.
If you guys want to sponsor me, okay, thank you. And if you guys was my fan, I don't know if I have fans, I don't know.
Massive amount of fans.
Thank you guys, and be ready for the show. And the Saturday and the Sunday.
I have one more question for you. Who wins between you and Donald Flowers in a grappling? Who wins that?
Depends.
Gi or no gi?
They give sometimes him, and no gi sometimes me.
You guys are pretty hard battles, though. Is it
Yeah,
very
I like
aggressive?
you. If I win, he's clean the dishes and something like this. If I lost, I cook some dinner. Yeah.
All right,
something like
great.
this.
I love that. That's the way it should be. Huh?
That's a good one. Yeah.
Equal opportunities for all.
Yeah, good idea for you too.
Yeah, I know, right? Nobody beats me.
Jessica, it was nice of you to come here. I know, given the busy times of most of the competitors, you guys, you're going. So Friday are the weigh-ins, right?
Yes.
And then there's a ceremony as well.
Yeah.
First time.
Yeah.
That's gonna be exciting. All of
We had it in
the all of the
98, right?
divisions lining up. That's what I heard.
That'd
But
be
it was
awesome.
98, 99 we had that ceremony too. Similar to 98,
Yeah, it's 98 to 2001. Yeah.
That's similar. Olympic
Yeah,
style opening.
Olympic
yeah.
style.
Got
Yeah,
it.
you can say it. But instead of countries, it's divisions.
Divisions now, yeah.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a cool image, you know.
Yeah.
Of, it's the first time maybe seeing your competitors face to face as well.
Wow.
Ooh.
And actually, all of you are going to see the brackets live on a big screen. That's what I heard. So you're going to be lined up, and they're going to have the brackets live. It's never been done like that before.
Oh, cool. Hey, you died.
Jessica versus Gabby, first round.
Oh,
First fight,
shit, really? Again?
Great news.
I know. No, I really hope they're on different brackets this time because two events in a row,
Yeah.
they were on the same brackets.
Sure.
So I think
Yeah.
It's
It's funny because it was same brackets. The last one, the first
Exactly.
girl I fight was same girl at the second time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the semifinals gonna be too. Like,
come on, it can't be 3 times,
No.
right?
3
You think-
times the charm, though. Right? Let's go, Jessica.
Let's go. Thank you for coming, Jessica. We
thank you
appreciate
guys
it.
for inviting
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's
We'll be
Thank
back
you.
in a bit with another guest, maybe.
You know, I don't think like Felipe likes me. I don't think so. Felipe is a tough opponent. He's on fire. I know he will come like hot, but I'm doing my best as well to cool him down and get my spot again.
When that man is on a mission, he's a force. 24/7, he's thinking about it.
Man, this guy's an animal. every time that I roll with him, you know, I have some fear.
Every time that you fight, there's always that like, you know?
I think he really wants to finish his career in like in a good position.
It's kind of like a fulfillment of a journey.
Okay, we are back this time with Bobby again, waiting for our next special guest to show up. That was nice. That was interesting.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah,
She's
with
really,
Jessica.
I really like her. Yeah, she's nice.
Nice personality. You know, I love these personalities in jiu-jitsu.
Quirky.
Sometimes you need
Yeah.
you need personalities in jiu-jitsu because
Yeah.
we've talked about that, right? Like
Sure.
a lot of people are against like the Gordon Ryan / Conor McGregor style of
Dennis,
Dylan Dennis, yeah. But sometimes you need these characters to build the sport. What do you think?
I think so.
It's controversial, but
I think so, but I think you have to be relative about it too. I mean, I've filmed Dylan many times and I've never seen him go past the first round, except for in the Absolute. So I think, you know, with a certain amount of egotism comes skill too. So if you can perform and you have the skill to do it, then bring it up. Gordon can do it.
yeah, I mean
He
he's
can walk the walk and talk the talk.
you know a lot of people
you
are talking about his division.
Yeah.
Because he's in it. I mean, let's be honest. You know, I mean, I'm a purist. I like the old school jiu-jitsu guys. You know, the Mario Sperry's, the Henzo Gracies, and stuff like that.
Marcelo,
But Marcelo Garcia. But
second.
but
level.
now we live at a time where social media is huge, and sometimes you need to sell something, right?
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
if Gordon Ryan wasn't who he is, he
Yeah.
probably wouldn't get any hits. Sure, he takes people's legs out every chance he gets.
Sure.
His submission rate is crazy,
Yeah.
but sometimes you need an outspoken guy that creates controversy.
if you can perform,
That's what he's doing, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what's
So-
your opinion of Dylan though? Because Dylan doesn't quite perform in ADCC.
I mean, he, as you said, he fought in 2015, lost in the first round. 2017, lost in the first round against Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
And he beat a
Actually-
Japanese guy in the Absolute in 2017 and then lost the second
So
fight.
Muhammad Ali, right? I
Yeah,
think.
so let's see what he does this time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been talking the talk, but
Yeah.
he
To be
hasn't.
fair though, I thought he might have edged out Gordon Ryan in Finland. It's a very controversial decision, super close.
Honestly, I can't even remember that fight.
Yeah, it was very,
I need to rewatch it. But
Dylan did very well in that fight.
it's a crazy division, that 99 kilogram division.
Anything can happen, you know.
Muhammad Ali's in it.
Yeah.
Dylan is in it.
Yeah.
Gordon is in it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of big. Keenan, if he didn't pull out, I heard he has issues with his eyes. Pink eyes,
Really?
what they call.
Oh, so it's like a form of
Yeah.
bacteria. Really? When did he get that?
I'm not sure. I heard it was running around in
Highly contagious.
then I heard Death Squad,
Ooh.
Enzo's place. I'm not sure, but this is what I've read.
So the sweat, if you have pink eye, the sweat can cause another infection. So.
I mean, he fought in Pans was it last week? Yeah. So, and he won the Absolute. So
Really, yeah. Nobody was kind of worried about it? Or?
no. I mean, let's see. Hopefully
He
he
wear an
does.
eye patch.
He could.
You know.
That's a nice look too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If he wins too as well.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I think the big thing with that division though is whether Gordon has recovered from his knee surgery. That's
That's a $1 million
the
question.
$1 million question.
Because I asked Henzo. I was on the flight to New York. I was actually on the
Right.
flight with Henzo, coincidentally,
Uh-huh.
and I asked him about that. He told me that he told me about the surgery he had and injury.
Right.
He said he thinks he could win his weight division, but definitely it's going to be tough to win the Absolute.
Absolute is a war of attrition. Your body is going to get damaged during the Absolute. So if you already have an injury, it's going to be intensified. It's
Yeah.
going to be tough for the Absolute. But, you know, if he wins his division, you know. Is Buchecha injured too as well? Did he have some injuries? Or?
He looks fine to me. He looks
Yeah.
good. Actually, all the money is towards Buchecha getting
Got
the
it.
Absolute this year.
Oh, wow.
Because he had two experiences now with the Absolute, getting
Right.
close.
Very close.
You know, I think last time he could have done something if it weren't for Orlando like gassing him out. you know.
Orlando took his...
Took everything out of him. I
took
think
everything,
that fight
yeah.
was crazy too. The
That fight
bloody
was
fight.
crazy,
Remember
yeah.
that image of?
Yeah.
I'm not sure who took that photo. Could have been
Someone from
Teague.
Flo, I think.
Probably
Yeah,
Hal Teague. Yeah,
I remember the mat
That was
was shaking
that was a legendary picture, to be
from the
honest.
vibration of that match. It was like, man, incredible match.
Yeah. I was sitting there and people were going, let them fight, because remember they stopped the fight for the cut,
Yeah.
and people were asking them to let them fight.
Yeah.
You know,
That
that's
to me is an epitome of combat jiu-jitsu. That to me is, when you see that fight, you see the epitome of what jiu-jitsu was created for, was for combat. So when you see a Buchecha versus Orlando, that to me is not a jiu-jitsu match. I never viewed that as an ADCC match. I never viewed it as a jiu-jitsu match. To me, that was a real fight. It had the energy of a real fight. It felt like a real fight. There was something about that felt like a real fight.
Yeah, I agree with
Nobody
you.
wanted to give up the guards. It was like it was like two lions
I agree.
colliding. You know what I mean?
I still remember that fight because of.
You feel me, right? It's like an
Yeah, I know
MMA
what you mean.
fight, yeah.
It might not be like we talked about that with the Mario Sperry Liborio Masters super fight.
Yes.
It might not be the best grappling you ever see,
Right.
and it might be boring to a lot of people. But to us, when we look at stuff like, you know, the stairs, you know, the slaps, what you talked about
The
with
energy, the vibration.
everything, yeah. There is a deeper meaning to some
Yeah.
of these fights.
Especially when you saw it in our film recently, we showed our Carson Gracie film
Yeah.
that we did in Abu Dhabi. When you see the fight in slow motion, in depth, you can feel how much it meant for them as well. You know,
Yeah.
you can feel the energy.
No, I'm looking forward. I feel that this event is going to have a lot of crazy fights because, again, grapplers probably perform better when you see like 4,000 people. I mean, when you see a lot of fans in attendance
Right.
cheering for you, it gives you that feeling that you are really in a global competition,
Sure.
right?
Brings more energy.
Yeah, more energy to you. Sometimes when you feel like you feel like stalling, you'll be like, you know, pressured by the audience to
Yeah.
perform, right?
Absolutely.
The
Yeah.
boos maybe if somebody's stalling and
Yeah.
stuff. So it's going to be an interesting event,
Yeah.
to be honest.
I felt Khabib was using that energy when he fought in UFC in Abu Dhabi. He felt like he really was energized by it. I could feel him going several levels.
When did you feel it? When he was trying to choke him out in the first round, and then
Yeah,
his coach was like, "Lay off."
Yeah,
right? Remember
yeah,
that?
Yeah, I remember
that was crazy.
It was
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah, but just everything when he was coming in, it was like very pro Khabib fight, very pro Khabib fan base, and so you could feel he was energized, and you could feel that nothing was going to take that win away from him, and he felt very energized by the crowd, and I remember feeling that. And I think it's ADCC being so big and so global now, and this is going to be the first big global ADCC that we film with the most amount of audience.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the athletes are really going to really, you know, gravitate towards that. Who else is in that division with Orlando and Buchecha, by the way? Who
a
else
bunch
is-
of guys. Let's look it up. I mean, the beauty of the podcast is
Jared Dopp, right?
check your phones and you don't have to
is going to be in that
hide your
division.
phone or anything. Let me look at this. So, so you have, Muhammad Ali is actually in the heavyweight division. Not
So
even,
he's
not even with
coming
Gordon. Yeah, I'm sorry about
Right,
that.
okay.
So Muhammad Ali, Max Jimenez,
Jared
Kainan Duarte, Joao Rocha,
Oh, Joe Rocha, wow.
Cyborg, Orlando, Yuri's. Actually, let's talk about Yuri. Yuri, when we filmed him in 2015, he won a division.
Yeah.
2017, he won another division.
Yeah.
2019, he's fighting in another division. So
Why
he
is
could be the first guy to win 3 gold medals in 3 different divisions.
Why is he
Yes.
climbing up another weight division for? He's
Probably-
kind of a smaller guy.
Yeah, but probably he's looking into that record.
Wow.
He's like, let me break that record. And if he
Yeah.
does,
Yuri's very
it's gonna be tougher, though.
explosive. You
Yeah.
don't really get to see Yuri's explosiveness unless you're right there in the arena, but he's very, very explosive fighter. Incredible.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
his
His
wrestling.
explosions.
His wrestling too, right?
Yeah, fast twitch muscle fiber, the way he explodes, really incredible.
Yeah, I mean he won.
Davos is like that too. Rami Davos has that very similar explosive style.
Davi
too.
Ramos, yeah.
Yeah.
He's not gonna compete here. Although he
Yeah.
had the only submission in the final in 2015
Yeah.
where we filmed.
He just fought in Abu Dhabi, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
just fought. He lost his fight against Islam. But yeah, it's a crazy division. I mean, looking at the names, Cyborg just won a heavyweight Grand Prix, I believe, in IBJJF.
Yeah, I think Cyborg does better at the heavyweight now. I think he tested like a light division last time. I think this is a better division. Heavier is better for him. Less movement, more power base, more strength base, more control base.
It's not going to be an
Less
easy ride
leg
this time
locks.
for Orlando.
No,
It's not at all, actually.
I don't think anyone can really, my opinion, the energy and the strength and the wrestling he brings. He's a very marker kind of style. Not many people.
Marker, like a more featherweightish marker. You saw how he was
featherweight.
jumping around
Yes.
against Tom DeBlas?
Yeah, but when Buchecha took him down, that was the defining moment that made Buchecha win that fight
Yeah.
because he's such a hard guy to take down.
Yeah.
And that was what gave Buchecha the edge. But he's very brutal to take down, And I think when he fought Tom DeBlas, I think Tom...
That was an early fight.
early fight, but I think Tom misjudged jumping to the guard too early, not understanding how explosive that Orlando could be in the ground. And I think, taking down Orlando is very brutal and he's very comfortable in that space. It's tough, it's a tough division. I think him and Buchecha got to be the top 2 seeds. Would you agree? Top 2 seeds in that?
Yeah. I mean, you have to. You have to.
But Cyborg is a
But
very
Cyborg
good
is a former
heavyweight.
absolute champion, so he has
Yeah.
to be in the mix. Muhammad Ali is also, he probably got a lot of experience from his last,
Yeah. But he's
ADCC.
coming up a weight too, but he might bring more speeds.
I'm telling you, man, these
Yeah.
guys, anything, Kainan, Duarte,
Yeah.
all these young guys.
Rocha is a naturally heavy, strong
ADCC
guy.
is like where champions are made.
Yeah.
Who knew Marcelo Garcia in
Nobody,
2013?
yeah.
He came in as not even an alternate. He came in actually. Yeah, I mean he lost the trials. But
Yeah.
he got invited.
Like he came in like I think he said the story in one of the films we cut. Like 3 or 4 days notice, I think they asked him, right?
yeah, and he.
I think maybe a couple of days or
he
something.
beat Henzo.
Yeah.
He put Shaolin to sleep. I mean,
Was that the Rico Rodriguez
the
the first
beginning
one
of-
too, or this next one afterwards? When did
no,
you do Rico Rodriguez?
it was the next one,
Next one
2015.
afterwards, yeah.
Controversial fight.
Very controversial.
We'll
won't go there.
leave it for the series.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, we're expecting Kenny Florian to be with
Yeah.
us
Legend.
any minute.
Yeah.
One of the guys that I respect as a fighter and as a media analyst today. you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we've crossed paths many times.
Many
He
times.
did commentary for Metamoris and
Yeah.
several other organizations.
He was
Cool
a-
guy. I interviewed him in Abu Dhabi when he showed up for the Legends fight
Yeah.
against Shaolin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
Looking
did a
forward
shift
to it.
episode with him too. Really amazing. And he's a legend. He fought Jose Aldo for a world title. He fought BJ Penn for a world title. He almost, was very close several times to winning that title.
he fought Sean Shirk for the title too.
Sean, wow, you're going
Yeah.
back.
He fought Sean Shirk for the title, and that was one of the bloodiest fights. I remember that because of the
Wow.
blood in that fight.
That went 5th round.
Listen, Kenny Florian probably has the sharpest elbows in the game, right?
Yeah.
Do you agree with me?
Yeah, very.
He opened up Sean Shirk. He lost that fight, but
Right.
that
5-round
fight-
decision? Or?
Yeah. We will speak to him about all these
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
but we'll focus more on ADCC and how he ended up being,
Yeah.
involved with the ADCC this year. But going back to the history of the ADCC and where it, in the beginning there weren't any trials, right?
No, there were no trials.
And in 2013 they started doing trials, I believe.
2013? No, before that, because Eddie Bravo won the trials.
Yeah, 2013.
No, Eddie Bravo did the trials in 2007 before he... What year did he...
Sorry, not 2013, 2003.
2003, yeah.
In 2003,
right,
when they branched out of Abu Dhabi...
You're slowing down, boss.
I know, man. I'm kidding.
Are you still jet-lagged? Are you still jet-lagged, though?
No, I'm good, man.
By the way, I was impressed by your pressure and intensity the last time I was in Abu Dhabi. A lot of pressure. You was just going. And he was on TV every night. I mean, I was like, when is this guy going to
what's funny? This was supposed to be a break, right?
Right.
I've been on a plane for 14 hours to come here. And then I've been driving for, I think, 14 hours.
Yosemite.
From San Francisco all the way here. So what break? I mean, I don't know.
Well, you went to Yosemite. I saw the pictures. When you went to the wilderness.
It's better than being pressured with all these scripts and TV.
Yeah, I mean, you was going under a lot of pressure in Abu Dhabi. You was non-stop. You had to carry a lot of that programming.
It was a success, though. I was happy.
Amazing. Yeah.
I was happy. I got good feedback, good reviews, and hopefully something good comes out of that. And even here, I wasn't supposed to do any podcasts or anything, but while I'm here, why not?
Why not?
Just do it.
Keep more Hosani 360 global. Right? Just keep it global.
Mike is helping us with
exactly. Mike, what's up?
Stuff here. And so the trials happened, and then this is the thing I don't understand. People expect to be invited all the time to the event,
right?
And nobody wants to compete at the trials. You've done probably a couple of trials.
Yes,
you've been to a couple of trials. You've seen some of the names there. They're usually not a lot of superstar names, right?
No.
But
the biggest,
but they guarantee their spots.
Yeah, the biggest name I saw ever in a trial was AJ Azagam, and who's Cyborg's friend?
Wagner Rocha.
Yeah, Wagner Rocha. I saw him. Yeah, they actually fought.
Wagner Rocha is amazing, man. He's ruthless.
Yeah. He actually won the combat jiu-jitsu in Eddie Bravo. He's very ruthless there too. Actually, could make a pretty good transition to MMA. I think. How old is he, by the way?
He's old. He's not old, but he's like 36, 37.
Yeah, I think he would make a good transition because he's
MMA.
I think so, because he did the combat jiu-jitsu in Eddie Bravo, and I think he won that. And I remember him being quite ruthless in that.
Definitely not a long career though in MMA, right? Just
no, yeah, he could depend if he went earlier. He's a little bit old now, but he goes for the kill, and I think he had the only TKO in the whole of the combat jiu-jitsu that I saw, non-submission. He made his opponents
TKO with a slap.
Wow. With palm strikes. Yeah. He was the only one I saw finish someone. So he was.
I really want to attend one of these combat jiu-jitsu events that Eddie Bravo organizes. I've never been to one.
It's exciting, yeah.
I mean, on screen it doesn't look very interesting because of no punches and stuff. It's like the slaps or the it hurts, of course.
Yes.
But I think watching it live will be better.
Yeah. Well, Wagner stopped one of his opponents with palm strikes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to call it a slap. It is actually a palm strike. And you got to remember, Bas Rutten was knocking out.
Can you hit on the nose?
You can hit anywhere in the face, I think, yeah. I look at Bas Rutten, he was winning his pancreas fights with palm strikes.
Yeah, you're right. He knocked down one guy, you remember that? We have it on video, yeah.
Season 1.
No, it's a good precursor for MMA for sure. If you don't like getting palm struck or hit in the face in general, it's a good precursor.
It keeps the position healthy. It keeps you from stalling, because if you stall in a very not great position, you'll pay with slaps and palms. So it forces you to move. It forces you to be active. So, if there's less stalling in the combat jiu-jitsu, I feel. Okay. And that's good. That's a good sign. Because, if you don't have any, pressure, if you don't have anyone hitting you or slapping you, you can stay in a position that's kind of right at the clock. Combat jiu-jitsu, no. You're going to get a slap, you're going to get a palm. And that's what, Rocha did. Anyone who was trying to stall with him, he made you pay for it. And he was getting some TKOs.
It might help a lot of people as well with ADCC. Let's see how these guys do. I know there's a lot of 10th Planet, not a lot, maybe 4 guys maybe from 10th Planet.
Yeah, there's one great guy.
In ADCC. Yeah. I mean, did Gordon ever do combat?
I saw him advertised against Fabricio Verdun, but you remember seeing that advertisement?
Yeah,
but that fight never happened. So our friend Fabricio. So I never saw that match materialize. That would have been a really amazing test for Gordon. Would have seen whether he can make a good transition to MMA.
Gary Tonin is fighting in this one. I didn't expect him to compete.
Yeah, you're saying he
ADCC. So it's good to have him back, especially with him doing MMA now with one.
Yeah,
I expected him to focus more on MMA, but the thing with ADCC, it's different than jiu-jitsu. People tend to take a hiatus from jiu-jitsu when they're doing MMA, but ADCC, a lot of MMA guys don't mind doing it.
Yeah.
We've had Gilbert Burns do it while he's involved in his MMA. AJ has done it. Obviously, those two couldn't do it this time because of scheduling.
Well, AJ's fighting on Saturday too in Bellator.
And Gilbert Durinho is fighting too.
Yeah.
He's fighting, what's his name? Gunnar Nelson.
Yeah.
Gunnar Nelson, I think. Is it next weekend? Yeah, next weekend in Denmark.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So
Jacare, Robert Drysdale.
This is what I like about ADCC. It gets a different treatment than any other grappling tournament.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are keen to Benson Henderson. You know, so
Ben had a really good match in 215 against Vera, right? That was a pretty exciting match. I remember while it lasted.
Adolfo, yeah,
in the Absolute. That was a really.
He got choked. He got choked out.
Rodolfo eventually got him, but he had to fight hard. I mean, I think Ben took it as like, I've got nothing to lose, and he went balls to the walls. He went gunning, and it was a very exciting match. I think he got Rodolfo on his back a few times. I was looking at that fight the other day, and I was quite surprised actually.
I remember it was a good fight,
and a very big weight difference there too as well. I think Ben's a 155 and Rodolfo's a heavyweight. So
yeah, I mean, we're talking a lot about MMA because we're waiting for Kenny Florian. So let's take a break.
Okay.
So we don't keep talking a lot.
Okay.
And we'll see you when Kenny's here. Okay, we're back with a man we talked about before he came in. The sharpest elbows probably in MMA. Kenny Florian, thanks for coming, man.
Awesome to be here. Yeah.
Last time I saw you was in Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
The World Pro Legends Super Fight with Shogun. I mean, Shaolin.
Shaolin, yes.
Yeah, that was the good times.
It was awesome. That was a great event, man. I had a great time. The first time there, so it was a blast. Yeah.
Before we start talking about all the ADCC stuff, because we're doing an ADCC special, how's life after MMA? You know, because a lot of people are watching this podcast are probably MMA fans more so than grappling.
Life has been good. You know, I've been lucky that I had the opportunity to do something outside of fighting, or not actually fighting. I think for a lot of fighters, it can be very difficult retiring, which why I think we see a lot of guys have a hard time with retiring. They don't know what to do after that. Their identity becomes fighting. So I was lucky that I was able to do a lot of commentary and work for the UFC and do a lot of different things like TV shows and commentary, which I really enjoy. I have a couple of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and mixed martial arts gyms, so that's been fun. I think I always considered myself to be a teacher. I always thought I would be a teacher. I didn't originally get into martial arts to think, I was going to be a fighter. It happened that way. But I think now I feel like all of my experience as a competitor, as a fighter, is for me to kind of pass that whatever information I have on to the next generation and hopefully improve martial arts, because it's like life. I think it's endless. I think sometimes we think that you only reach this certain level in martial arts, but if everyone's getting better, then everyone needs to get better. Everyone needs to kind of step up their game. I think that's the nature of combat in general, or should be the nature of combat in general. So just trying to continue studying and learning as much as possible, and pass on whatever information I have to the other guys.
And you mentioned, when I talked to you last time, I asked you these things about putting the media stuff while you do also the martial arts stuff. Like, is there pressure to perform on both levels? Because I know some guys in MMA right now who are active, right? And they still do commentary.
Still doing it,
right?
It is challenging. I think you have to really understand what your priorities are. I'm not in the same situation I was when I was fighting, and I did the same thing, and it was a difficult thing, and it was a little bit of a balancing act. But at the end of the day, you know, for fighting, I would always take a lot of time off prior to a fight. You know, especially back in the day, I used to drive at 5, 6 in the morning to Connecticut to ESPN to do a show called MMA Live, and it was in the middle of a fight camp, and you're training like crazy, and you need sleep when you're training. So I would slow down a little bit when I was fighting, but now, you know, I'm not a professional fighter. I have more time to do it, but again, you're a little bit more in the limelight, so you know, people are wanting to hear what you have to say, and so it's a little bit different. But now I feel a little bit more free to say what I really feel and what I think, and you know, it doesn't.
I know what he means right there.
So you know, some people don't always like it, but that's my opinion. You know, like people always think, oh, you're biased because of this or that or whatever. I don't really care what they think. You know, I just try to give my opinion as honestly as possible. I think that's what people want to hear. So that's what I try to do that as authentically as possible. And
in terms of doing commentary, I've seen you doing it for Metamoris, for a lot of. This is probably the first time you're going to do anything involved with ADCC, right?
Well, it's my first time for the actual event. I was lucky enough to do the ADCC West Coast Trials last year or 2 years ago, and had a blast doing that. But for this event, this is the first time me doing something for ADCC, so for the actual World Championship. So I'm so excited. Like I remember when they had the first event, and they had, you know, all the biggest names from all over the world in grappling, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, all that stuff in
like
one.
The 98 event, or
the 98 event, and I remember, like, you know, they were on a different time schedule, obviously, in Abu Dhabi, and I remember being on the internet trying to find out the results and trying to see what was going on. Now we have
Sherdog, right?
Exactly. Sherdog and Underground and MMA Underground, MMA.tv. Shout out to those guys. And you know, now we have access to be able to watch a lot of these things on the streams, and it's just a different kind of event. So for me, I you know, seeing back when I was a lot younger and just geeking out on this event, and now have an opportunity to commentate it and see it live, and it is just a real honor. So I'm excited, man. Grappling gets me excited. So a lot of great competitors this year.
We have come a long way. You know, I would like to take this opportunity to give a shout out to Jeff Osborne. If it weren't for that guy, we probably wouldn't have seen a lot of the early ADCC days. And as you said today, it's like on your iPhone, you can grab Flo Grappling and just watch any fight you want to.
I remember waiting for the VHS tapes to come out, and I had to get the VHS tapes, and I remember just going through those things for hours and studying and learning, and we're in such a different era now, but it was cool. Those are magical days too, though.
I mean, a lot of grapplers, especially in the colored belts, probably don't want or don't enjoy having Flo Grappling, because sometimes when you're a black belt, you go back to previous history of your early fights. You don't want to be there. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah. Nothing is hidden these
days. I know.
Nothing. All will be revealed in time.
Exactly.
And what's the nature of your role for this one? Commentary, presenting?
I guess I'm going to be doing some commentary. I'll definitely be doing some, presenting.
With Flo, right?
With Flo Grappling, yeah. So my understanding is I'm going to be at the desk, and I guess we'll be talking about the matches maybe before and after, kind of thing, and
post-fight analysis,
a little bit of fight analysis. You know, looking at who are the the favorites coming up in the tournament, and who we should keep our eye on, and all those things. So I'm excited, and there's going to be so many great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu legends at this event. They're going to have
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu legends.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that earlier. It's like a natural transition for Brazilian
Jiu-Jitsu.
Everyone, that's the mentality.
Do you think this is a Jiu-Jitsu event or a grappling?
You're right. I see what you're saying. Bobby's throwing me under the bus here.
We had a conversation about
You're right. You're right. No, listen. I think that it's more than just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for sure. That's my just clear bias coming out right there as a Brazilian
Well, it's
Jiu-Jitsu
like a natural
practitioner.
thing, you know,
But no, there's wrestlers, there's sambo practitioners, there's judokas, right? It's much more than Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Even with
but-
the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys, they're
Yeah.
still training wrestling, right?
Right. No, this is true.
Have
Even
no
if you're a
choice.
Jiu-Jitsu black belt,
But you know
you're
what's-
forced to train in wrestling.
It's interesting because I say this to my students, and it's very true, but grappling is grappling. I don't think that it's separate. Like, there's no, while the rules change from wrestling to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to judo and all that stuff, but I think the fundamental principles are all the same. What we're trying to do in wrestling, what we're trying to do jiu-jitsu as far as control, as far as movement, it's really the same thing.
Leverage,
you know?
yeah.
Leverage, right?
Yeah.
It's not different. Like, oh, I want leverage for wrestling. I want a different leverage for jiu-jitsu. It's the same leverage. So I think there's a lot of commonalities within the sport. Obviously, it's a submission wrestling tournament, so submission is going to be the focus, hopefully. But there's a lot of very interesting grappling styles, and now we're seeing that transfer over, especially in an event like ADCC, where wrestling is a big-time factor, especially as you get into the latter part of the match.
I would love to see a Jordan Burroughs one day in ADCC,
man.
like a world-class Olympic level, like Mark Kerr back in the day.
Yeah.
I would love to see that
They
again.
tried to
Amazing.
goad him into, I think Ben Askren tried to give him a wrestling match, which he lost, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Easily. And then there was supposed to be like maybe a submission, but I don't think these guys are interested in submissions. So
Yeah.
How do we lure them in? How do we lure Jordan Burroughs?
Probably something.
It's so tough, you know, like a lot of those guys that are chasing gold medals and all this stuff. It's like, I think for them, the risk of getting injured is too great. You know, they prepare 4 years. You know, for ADCC, it's 2 years getting ready for the World Champion. Olympics is 4 years. One injury or one heel hook or arm lock, and, you know, maybe they can't compete.
Happened to Aaron Pico a few times.
Yeah, I know, and that's the
Pico's
thing.
a classic example of Olympics.
I think it's too risky for them, I think.
So maybe when he retires, you can.
But it
lure
would
him
be
in.
awesome, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
Going back to the media side of things, do you I mean, you've been involved with a lot of jiu-jitsu events and grappling events here and elsewhere.
Yeah.
Is it the first time this thing happens? Like I feel there's an ESPN feel to this. You're talking about a desk, a studio.
Yeah.
Pre and post
Yeah.
fight. Has this ever happened?
Kenny Florian's here.
I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than that.
Exactly, so-
No, I think this is exactly what the sport deserves and needs. I mean, I think starting back in the first ADCC event, that really was the start of a legitimate world championship for submission wrestling. I don't think there was anything like that previously. I think the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu organizations were kind of fractured, and also there was no outlet for guys from sambo and wrestling and judo and catch wrestling and all the other submission arts to take part in it. And that was the first time we had a true submission grappling world championship. So I think this is the biggest event. This is what every grappler wants to be a part of. You know, I think the main, even more than the Nogi IBJJF World Championships. It's like, well, what have you done? Oh, have you won ADCC? Have you competed in ADCC? Everyone brings that up as
ADCC
kind of the
is
main
the
thing.
benchmark,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Even in the UFC, they when they mention a grappling, they don't say
They'll list
worlds
that.
or mundials.
Yeah.
They probably say Abu Dhabi champion.
ADCC,
Exactly.
yeah.
Sometimes Joe Rogan just says it like Abu Dhabi champion, like
Right.
as if it's something everybody
Everybody
would
should know,
understand. you know?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's cool. I mean, that it just shows how prestigious it is, how difficult it is, and I'm excited. I mean, these divisions are ridiculous. Yeah.
So speaking of the divisions, have you done any homework yet, or it's too
I
early?
have
yeah.
been. I have been doing my homework this week. You know, I follow the sport, you know, pretty closely, but I still have some research to do. There's some names that I haven't seen, and that's what makes it so interesting. You know, it seems like almost every ADCC, there's a
Amen.
new name
Yes.
that
Yeah.
comes out. I mean,
Yes.
no one knew who Marcelo Garcia was.
Greg
Until
Jones.
they
Greg
did.
Jones.
Craig Jones. You know, so there's always some surprise every ADCC
Yeah.
of someone who comes out of, you know, quote unquote nowhere.
And
Eddie
sometimes,
Bravo.
So
yeah,
Eddie Bravo.
Yeah, exactly. So,
So-
we mentioned some guys who probably never medaled, but yet they become names,
Yeah.
right? So
Absolutely.
You don't always have to win the ADCC to become a name. You know?
just
And
beat a
it's-
name, I guess.
And it's so tricky for also, you know, you were talking about the history of your videos going online. Well, for a lot of these guys that don't have the names, I mean, everyone's researching Gordon Ryan right now. Everyone in the division is like, how do I beat Gordon Ryan? for someone in that division who doesn't have a big name, no one's researching their stuff.
Yeah.
No one has a lot of a history of this guy. And
Clubber Lang, baby, Clubber Lang. It's like that guy, Gordon's doing the photos, but Clubber Lang is just, he's a hardcore dude, There's some Clubber Langs coming up.
Yeah. So
that's very interesting. Which division captivates you?
I've always been a big fan of the lighter weight classes.
Okay.
So I think the 66 kilo and the 77 kilo is just unbelievable. I mean, they're all 88. I mean, it just they're all kind of mind-bending when you see the people in the division and how they match up. So much of it, a lot like the Olympics for wrestling or the World Championships, matters kind of who you get in the earlier rounds. So I can't wait for these brackets to be released and see who's going to match up against who. That makes a big difference of how hard your matches are leading up. As you get through the tournament, the more difficult
the wrong matchup in the beginning makes it breaks your career.
Exactly, or gets you tired as hell for the next one. Yeah. So it's that's always a fascinating process, but. These divisions, I don't think have ever been this stacked, and I'm curious to see how these divisions play out, because there's a lot of great competitors that I've been following all year, some that I've had a chance to train with, and I can't wait.
What do you think of, you mentioned 66, what do you think of Cobrinha giving up his spot for his son? That's unprecedented, I think, right?
It is unprecedented. Yeah. I think Cobrinha, obviously he's getting older. Having trained with him very recently, I can't tell that he's getting any older.
Dude, everybody says how strong he is. Yeah,
he is an absolute savage. He is so good, and I love his very intelligent approach to the sport. He has the ability to kind of do that now. He's won ADCC. His son is kind of the new blood. He's been training his son obviously for a long time.
His son's like 21, right?
Yeah, 20? I think Kennedy's like 21 or 22. He's very young.
But he's still older than Nicky Ryan, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nicky's
who's also in the same
18.
division. Yeah.
Nicky's youngest.
It's a crazy division. Yeah. It's like a different, like this division is like, I don't think I ever saw this in ADCC.
It's going to be amazing.
Kids.
But Nicky's peaking pretty well, because he did very well in the last minute in Abu Dhabi. He climbed up.
He has
the
experience
ranks,
now.
He's pretty experienced now.
He's experienced now, but the only thing is, with now people know who Nicky is, so he doesn't have that same luxury of kind of flying under the radar. Now he's not this, he's just a 17, 18-year-old kid. Now it's like, watch out for that guy. Yeah. So
he's on the radar now.
He's on the radar now. And but Kennedy, having seen him train, man, he is looking so sharp. And I think Cobrinha probably wouldn't let him take that spot if he didn't think he was ready. And I think Kennedy is going to be one of those guys to definitely watch that division. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the finals or wins the whole thing.
Really? Because I filmed him a couple of years ago. He seemed to me more of a guard player when I filmed him.
He is so hard to pass. He's very technical, very intelligent and mature for his age. He approaches it like a professional. He's not out there kind of, we'll see what happens. This kid is training day in and day out, several times a day, and training hard. I mean, it's easy to see him why he's Cobrinha's son. I mean, Cobrinha was known for the same thing, his work ethic, and Cobrinha is cut from Kennedy is cut from the same cloth.
Well, he's a hard coach too. He doesn't take any shit.
No, absolutely.
He would not give him that spot.
And you have a good point, because I don't think I've seen Kennedy in Nogi yet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at least not like, I mean, Nicky is all about Nogi. I haven't seen Nicky in
That's all he does.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
And I know that, from what Danaher is saying, I know Nicky has been working a lot on his wrestling. They felt that was a weakness, last time he was here. And he's getting ready, man. And his submissions are so sharp. And it seems like he's training and wrestling with a new kind of confidence. He's not backing up and seeing himself as the young kid. He's going forward, and he's confident.
Getting his man strength too a little bit.
He's getting his man strength. He's getting big too. He's but anyway.
Watch
out.
Watch out with that comment.
Yeah, that's right.
No, but then again, we have I've heard people say that the only reason Tanquinho never got a gold medal in ADCC was because Cobrinha was in the same bracket.
Yeah.
Now Cobrinha is not there. Same thing with Paulo Miao, right? So these two also have a solid chance.
Paulo Miao has changed just in seeing him over in the Kasai series. Paulo Miao has really changed in his aggression and in his passing skills. He's so much better with his pressure of when he's passing. Before he was really just a guard guy.
Right.
Now he's so well rounded. He still has a weakness as a takedown guy, that's for sure. But you mentioned Tenquinho. He's another favorite. I mean, he's got to be 1 or 2 as far as if we were to rank them. Yeah. He's a guy to watch.
Probably his last chance too, right?
His last chance.
So hard to score on. He's smart. He's methodical. He's definitely one of the favorites.
Amazing IQ too. He's a very good IQ in jiu-jitsu.
Very smart and just great for tournament-like settings like this.
Yeah.
Too.
I don't want to talk too much about the 99 because everybody's talking about it.
Yeah,
I want to focus more on the other, the heavyweights. The
Exciting.
heavyweights is, this is the first time. Usually the heavyweights are like, it's the boring, stalling fights. But
right.
I look at the names. We were just talking about Muhammad Ali,
yes.
Orlando Sanchez, obviously,
yes.
Buchecha. A lot of big names in this one. Kainan Duarte,
Yes, Kainan, oh my God. Nicky Rodriguez, who's a guy they say that to watch out for as well. But that is an awesome division, and it's one that I'm actually excited about. I think sometimes the heavyweights don't move as much, but when you see the kind of how dynamic Buchecha is, for example, he moves like a lightweight. Kainan Duarte as well might be a little bit undersized for that division.
Yuri as
but
well,
his
right?
Yuri, oh my God! Again, that division is ridiculous. Those guys move extremely well. They go for it. I think they're very well rounded. There's going to be some amazing matches and exciting matches this year for ADCC and amongst the heavyweights, which we don't always see if we're being honest. Orlando's a guy who's tough to score on, maybe not the most dynamic guy as far as his movement, but a guy who's always going to be right there and going to be one of the favorites.
Yeah. What do you think Yuri's plan going to be? He's kind of small for the division, I feel.
He is, him and Kainan, but I think speed can be an advantage against some of those guys.
Speed kills, right?
Speed kills. Yeah. I think the key for them is going to be to stay moving, not let a big guy like a Buchecha kind of slow them down, or Orlando Sanchez kind of slow them down. They need to be more dynamic. They can't just make it a grind against guys like that. So it can be an advantage, but as they get later on in the match, and later on in the tournament, it could be a factor being the small.
Then you have the neg 1 situation too, the rules. Like the first 5 minutes, no points, right?
Yes.
Yeah. If anyone's listening out there, the rules.
We're going to talk to Peter about that before the event for sure, because a lot of people get confused every 2 years with the rules,
right?
Even the fighters themselves, right? So
and the continuing development of rules, they constantly evolve.
We'll talk about it more. It could be confusing to the casual jiu-jitsu spectator.
Yeah.
But the super fight, what do you think of that? I mean, this is the first time where we'll have, in a long time, one super fight. No more sideshows. This is the main event.
I was talking to my buddy the other day, one of my students, about it, and I love it because it's kind of like the final boss in a video game. Like Andre Galvao just sitting there at the final stage, the final boss, waiting for Felipe Pena now to take that belt, and they're kind of now the king of ADCC, right? It's like everyone's competing in ADCC to compete against Galvao, who is 3-time defending champion now?
So he beat Braulio in China, then he beat Cyborg and Calazan, so 3-time.
So there you go, 3-time defending champion.
4-time super
fight. I'm doing my homework. Okay.
If he beats Felipe,
beat Braulio for the title. He wasn't defending against Braulio.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right.
So he beat Braulio. So this would be the third defense.
Okay, so this is his third defense, but he's 3-time champion. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But it's still, I mean,
that's impressive.
To win fourth, nobody can beat that record for a long time.
And also, for Galvao, he has kind of the luxury of sitting back and studying all these guys too. And he's such a smart competitor. He has so much experience. He has so many great guys to train with and learn from.
Saving his body too, Kenny, as well.
This is true. His
body is more preserved. He doesn't have to go through all these hundreds of fights.
Absolutely.
30-minute matches.
And he has been. He's been hasn't been competing all the time. Granted, maybe he's not as young as the other guys, but Felipe Pena is going to be tough to beat. I think for Felipe, sometimes we see him lose focus in matches.
I've noticed that filming him.
That's why. Isn't his nickname Lazy?
Preguiça. Exactly. So Preguiça can't come out. It's got to be Felipe Pena that shows up. And when he does, I think he really thrives in the scramble. If you want to scramble and make it a speed game against someone like Felipe Pena, watch out. And as good as Galvao is in the scramble, I don't know if he wants to get in that kind of a matchup with Felipe Pena. I think he needs to slow it down, make it a little bit more of a grind.
Wrestling.
I think he has the advantage in the stand-up and the wrestling. So he's been doing this a lot for a long time, and that experience is crucial. And Felipe Pena is definitely was streaking pretty hot heading into this. He's had a few stumbles here and there, but that could be a good thing as far as learning your lessons prior to a big match.
Yeah, exactly,
I'm looking forward to that one. That's going to be exciting.
Do you think there is any added pressure on Galvao since this is his retirement fight, as he said?
Right. There could be. I think anytime you're going in there, knowing it's going to be your last match, sometimes it could ramp you up too much and get you emotional. Sometimes it can make you too conservative and you fight to not lose as opposed to fight to win. I think he's going to go for it. I
like that plug, by the way.
Was that on purpose?
It was not on purpose. Sorry. No pun intended there, but it worked out. But, I think that the pressure could get to him, but I don't think so. I think he's been doing this a long time. I think he's experienced this before. If anything, I think Felipe Pena probably is feeling some of the pressure as the younger guy coming into this, but who knows? I mean, it's all how they take. It's what leads their perspective, and that I'm sure that changes for a fighter, day in and day out.
Is pressure good? Do you need that pressure to keep you sharp? Did you feel that?
I think so. There's been times where you try to ignore it, and that's not the approach. I think as a competitor, you need that pressure to fuel you and make you sharp. I think there's a reason why we get nervous. I think it's an important thing. It's an important part of the human condition. If you let it take you over, that's a different thing. But if it allows you to really get focus and get sharp as a competitor, it becomes your advantage. So it's always a tricky thing, pressure, for any competitor.
And we don't want to keep you here because we're almost out of time. I promised you we're going to do it.
No worries.
I mean, we can go for a full 2 hours with Kenny here.
It's fun talking to you.
Encyclopedia Britannica.
I know, man. But, there was this discussion going on online. I like to talk about it because it's a thing that's going on right now, where Flo Grappling came up with who's the no-gi GOAT in history, and a lot of people were unhappy with their selections because they were like they chose.
Homework was not done.
No, I mean, no, they could have they could have done it on purpose, by the way, because they want to tick people off with putting Gordon Ryan on the side like that.
Right.
But what do you think? Regardless of what Flo did, but what do you think of a no-gi GOAT? Like, is it easy to choose something like that, or is it subjective? Like, what do you think?
We were talking earlier about how the sport evolves and gets better. That's the way it should be. So, a lot of times we always want to say, the hottest, newest thing is going to be the GOAT. If Gordon Ryan wins the Absolute in his division, he would certainly lay claim to that. I think the sport has definitely improved in a lot of ways, but also in some ways, it hasn't. If I were to pick a GOAT right now, it would be between Roger Gracie and Marcelo Garcia. If we're talking about pound for pound, I'd be leaning towards a Marcelo Garcia based on how efficient he's been, the fact that he's a smaller guy who's done very well in the absolute divisions. He had a game where a lot of people had trouble trying to figure it out.
Marcelo never won an absolute, though, right?
He never. He got close. I think he got to the final, right?
Final
with Robert Drysdale.
With Drysdale.
2007.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he got to the final, but doing that at his weight was just unbelievable. And also the manner in which he did it. It wasn't just him going out there and winning by a takedown or by referee's decision. He's going out there submitting guys, submitting world-class individuals. And that's what was so impressive to me about Marcelo. He had such a complete game and was very submission-oriented and doing it against amazing competitors. So I'd be leaning that way. Also, just Roger, I've always been a huge fan of Roger Gracie and his efficiency, and everyone always says, he's a bigger guy and blah, blah, blah. But look how he did in his division and against the bigger guys that he went
Finished
against.
everyone in
Finished
2005.
everybody. And
Simplicity of movement too. Yeah.
Simplicity of movement. There's something to be said about that, of
Hicks and Gracie.
extracting stuff from that, of doing it with just pure fundamentals. So don't tell me it's just about weight, because there's other guys that are heavier or as heavy as him and doing all these, amazing movements, but Roger is so precise.
Right.
It shows you the effectiveness of really understanding jiu-jitsu, not having a bunch of moves, but understanding jiu-jitsu. Roger is a genius. He really
Kenny,
is.
are you a fan of barambolas, butt scoots? Are you more of a purist?
I don't mind it. I like an effective barambolo. It's pretty to watch. I don't like seeing scrambles into no positions. I didn't get into. I'm glad you asked it. I'm glad you asked it in a lot of ways, because I was talking about in some ways the art has advanced, in some ways it hasn't. I don't think it's advanced because we're seeing so much movement to get nowhere. You see the younger guys, they're doing so much movement left, right, and doing all these amazing jumps and side movement and passing from the feet, but you almost see them go nowhere. Like you see, two guys butt scooting, or two guys trying to berimbolo and just scrambling, and no one gets position. So I don't know. Again, in some ways, I don't see that as advancing. I like the fact that we're trying to do new things, but I don't know. I think efficiency of movement is super important, and also stays true to the concept of what jiu-jitsu and judo is all about.
I was at a Meta Morris once, and I remember I was sitting next to this girl who knew nothing about jiu-jitsu, and she saw this very flowing match, and I remember her telling me, "Wow, it's like two people making love," and I was like, "Wow," I didn't even know what to say, because it was so much movement,
right?
But it wasn't really going anywhere.
Right?
So all she saw was like this beautiful ballet,
right?
That's dangerous. Coming if she was a casual, that's even more. That's against what you want to promote.
Exactly,
right?
She's completely casual. Yeah.
Okay, what about females? Female division.
So I think there's some excellent competitors and a lot of women to watch out for. But I think at this point, the women that have competed in the previous events are going to have a huge advantage. Just getting used to the even the women that competed in the trials, getting used to that kind of rule set and getting their wrestling in order and all that stuff, I think really makes a big difference. The experience of the competitor. So. In this case, I feel like the strong are going to get stronger. The females that have won and have competed and done well in previous ADCCs will continue to do well. They're always going to be the favorites. But I'm excited to see what happens because the level of grappling for the females, I think, have really improved over the last 5 years.
Last question. Do you think with this GOAT discussion, it has to be some ADCC champion that gets that no-gi GOAT thing?
It's hard to include someone who hasn't won an ADCC, right? I think that the level of those tournaments kind of dictate how prestigious a name is, and kind of just the level, I think, is a little bit higher even than the World Championships in some ways. And also the fact that you can integrate other styles into it. It's not just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys that compete. I think dealing with the wrestler says a lot about your submission skills as well. So yeah, I think you're right. I think if you're talking about a GOAT, it's got to be someone who has won an ADCC previously.
Okay.
I agree.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So. Any lasting messages before we wrap up with you?
Let's see. I'm just excited. I'm excited to watch these competitors go at it. I'm lucky that I get to see it as a fan and as an analyst, and I can't wait to see how it all unfolds and to see if maybe we have any sleepers in there. See if any dark horses emerge and new superstars emerge.
You'll have Shanji Drysdale doing some media work with you, and a lot of legends as well.
Yeah. There'll be no shortage of grappling minds there, so I can't wait.
Full spectrum.
Yes.
Thank you, Kenny, for coming, and hope to see you this weekend.
Thank you so much, guys.
We'll take a break and come back.
I don't think like Felipe likes me. I don't think so. Felipe is a tough opponent. He's on fire. I know he will come like hot, but I'm doing my best as well to cool him down and get my spot again.
When that man is on a mission, he's a force. 24/7, he's thinking about it.
Man, this guy's an animal. every time that I roll with him, I have some fear.
Every time that you fight, there's always that
I think he really wants to finish his career in a good position.
It's kind of like a fulfillment of a journey.
Okay, we're back. This time with Felicia Oh, one of the pioneers in jiu-jitsu, especially for females here in California, in the USA. Actually, you're part of the Dirty Dozen.
Part of the Dirty Dozen.
Thanks for coming in, Felicia.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us more about the Dirty Dozen, because my podcast is more, I wouldn't say targeted towards the Middle East, but it's based in the Middle East, and a lot of people probably are not grappling or jiu-jitsu followers, maybe jiu-jitsu followers, but not deep history, because in Abu Dhabi, it's in the school system now, and people are starting to train, so there's a lot of white and blue belts. So it's new to them now. They're learning about the sport now and its history today, right? So I want to learn as well about the Dirty Dozen. How did this happen? When did you guys train? How difficult was it back in the day?
So originally, the Dirty Dozen was the first 12 men to get black belts outside of Brazil, and that was established quite a while ago on the internet in history and documented. And then for the women, it wasn't really followed. And then in 2015, one of the websites wrote an article and kind of documented when the different women got their black belts. So if anyone questioned it, or had other information out there, that they could bring that. So it's the first 12 women outside of Brazil to get black belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah,
that's
so
amazing, and you're wearing 6. That shirt too. Yeah. With
so there's
not. Is that all of the dozen?
No, these are just influential women.
Okay, Hanat Stack is probably not there. Yeah.
So there's 2 Dirty Dozens.
There's the men and the women.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
wow.
Probably BJ Penn is on that other dozen.
I know Chris Howder's.
Chris Howder's one. I think Greg Kukuk. Dave Meyer, I think, is on there, and he's actually still competing. He's still competing. He's still competing
vegan,
today.
Right? Yeah, vegan.
Speaking of vegan,
I used to train with Dave Meyer.
I'm vegan too.
Oh wow, we have 2 vegans in the studio.
Vegan Dirty Dozen members.
I know, man.
It's an elite club.
Yeah. So BJ was like the first American to win.
win.
Non-Brazilian, to win the Mundials. That's a different thing.
From a blue belt onwards, right? I think he won
something like that. Yeah. But going back to the Dirty Dozen. When did you first started training? Like, how did you find jiu-jitsu? Was it jiu-jitsu in the beginning, right away, or were you?
No, I actually went on a bad hiking trip.
Okay.
And a friend of mine's husband was there and was telling me about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I had no clue what it was. And he kept explaining to me it's fighting and using technique over strength, and it made no sense to me. We went on a bad hiking trip, so I thought maybe it's time to go try something indoors. So I went, and at that point, I had no idea about anything really of martial arts. I grew up with seeing karate or kung fu and watching the TV show. But I'm Chinese, but I did nothing with martial arts. So the idea of fighting without hitting or kicking, I couldn't understand what that was. And I was like, let me go check this out. And I went, and it looked like everything I was uncomfortable with. And so I decided to sign up.
Was it John Jack in the beginning?
Yeah.
Wow. From white belt, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you picked a great guy from the beginning.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was actually 33 when I started, and people have no idea. And when I did Abu Dhabi in 2007, I was 39. So I look a little younger, which is a good thing. But
maybe that's the jiu-jitsu magic right there.
Yes, it's the exfoliation from the gi.
And so when you started training, were there any women training at the time?
Not really.
What year was this when you started training?
It was November of 2000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
there were a few at different...
Leica was training then.
Leica was down at Higgins.
And John Jack, she was going back and forth,
She came a little bit later and trained sometimes, but she had a women's team down at Higgins.
Right.
And I would go down there once in a while on the weekend and train with the women.
When she started training. 98-7 she came to America, or... Yeah, I can't remember.
That was before.
And so was there a women's class, or were you just training?
No, there was no women. Occasionally, there might be one here and there.
So you trained the hard way, basically.
Yeah, old school.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And
there was a beginning class.
Okay.
And those guys in that class were great. That kind of took me in as their sister and kind of protected me. And, you know, it was a separate class. So, you know, I was too scared to go to that advanced class with the higher belts.
Well,
it was intimidating.
There was no ego back then.
It was such a different time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
You could not lose against a woman. That was the kind of feeling.
Yeah, I mean, in 2000, probably. I mean, it still goes on today, obviously, but in 2000, it's probably even more, right?
But even beyond that, no one would even talk to a white belt.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a blue belt. Maybe if you were familiar.
He was like lowest of the earth if you was a white belt. Yeah, you're scum of the earth.
Yeah. What are you doing in here? Just fodder.
And actually, a purple belt had a lot of respect.
Yes.
Back then. If he was a purple belt back then, boss, he was like the man.
Yeah. Back in the day, I'm sure. So, any competitions going on back in the day in 2000 for women?
I competed 6 months into training.
Where?
It was at Jean-Jacques Grappling Games, and at that time that was kind of the big tournament in town. Yeah, and he'd have one day gi, one day no gi. So I went and did that. I won my first match. I hadn't thought any of this out. I won my first match, and then I'm huffing and puffing, and they came over and they said, "Okay, you have 10 minutes before your next match." And I looked at them like,
jiu-jitsu,
I'm huffing about. I'm like, what? I have to fight it? Like, I clearly have no understanding of a tournament or a bracket or anything like that. I'm like, okay. And I got mounted with, I think, a minute or two left, and it seemed about to last an hour. And I finally got out of the mount, and then the time was over, and I lost that match. But I just kept doing it, and I think that also helped me progress very quickly in jiu-jitsu. I got my black belt in 4.5 years.
Wow.
But I think it's because
Dedication.
of the competition, and you know, because you're constantly, every time you lose especially, you're always adjusting. Like, what can I do better? How do I get better? How do I adjust this? And I think that was just part of my makeup, and I enjoy, you know, that challenge.
That's great. In 2005, you didn't compete in 2005, but were you around? Did you watch that?
I was around. I was technically, according to my sponsor, the alternate. Okay. Which just means I had a pretty good seat. Right. Which I was good with that.
I mean, being there, I wish I was there during that time, right? I mean, that was one of the greatest events, right?
Yeah.
That was a crazy event. The first time women competed in ADCC.
Yes.
Hodger Gracie going wild on everyone, submitting everyone.
What country was that in? That one?
Here in
that
California.
was here. That was
Long
in
Beach, 2005.
Long Beach.
That was the one at the Pyramid.
Yeah. Right. It was one of the best. George St. Pierre competed in that event, right? Yeah. He got submitted by Leo Vieira, Leo Santos, sorry. It was a crazy event. A lot of MMA personalities in the crowd. Joe Rogan, I think, attended live.
It was funny too because ironically now I work for the California State Athletic Commission.
I know,
for professional MMA and boxing and kickboxing. But I remember back at that time I was down at Jiu-Jitsu Pro Gear hanging out, and the Athletic Commission wanted to shut down. It was like, I think it was 1 or 2 days before the show.
Oh, wow.
And they wanted to shut it down. And
the ADCC.
Was it Gilberto, right?
Yes, he was Gilberto. He was my sponsor, and I was hanging out down there, and they wanted to shut it down. And I remember, and this is before, because I eventually ended up working for Big John McCarthy at his gym. But it was before I knew Big John. And I had heard through all the phone calls, Big John stepped in and said, "You can't shut this down. It's not professional MMA. It's not fighting. They're not kicking and punching. They're just grappling." And they finally got it through, but it was kind of a close call.
So it's a little confusing for the Athletic Commission.
Yeah,
that's a good trivia for
interesting.
For whoever didn't know about this. Wow. But that was a great event, especially for women. I think all the pioneers almost competed in that. I think Lika Vieira was there, Leticia Ribeiro, even Ghazi Barman was there. Ghazi's one of.
She came third.
I think that was the first ever women's fight in ADCC.
Yeah, and obviously Kira too, right?
Kira, obviously, Hanette, back. I mean, she didn't win that one, but that was her.
That was her emergence. Yeah.
I mean, it was.
And that year there were 2 weight classes, and they were all just invited.
Wow! So no trials.
Yeah. So then the next one, 2007, was the first time they did the trials. So I won the trials. And that's how I got my spot.
So you won the trials, and that was. I was just talking to Bobby about this. That was the event that had the most female divisions in the history of ADCC. They stopped doing that. They even had an absolute, right?
Yes.
Hanette,
they had an absolute that they didn't put any of the lowest weight class in.
Just the heavy.
Because I was like, I want to do that, and they didn't put us in. But yeah, they had 4 weight classes, and it wasn't like there was a lack of competition. Because I fought Letitia and Megumi.
You beat Letitia and Megumi. How did that feel? Beating these two legends, you know?
It was pretty wild because
Did anyone expect it before?
No.
So.
Was you the unknown factor? Nobody really knew you.
No, I mean, Dirty Dozen. Everyone
People
knows.
kind of knew me, but no one thought I would win, especially against Megumi.
And they haven't seen you train. There was no intel, basically.
Well, I guess, I was coming up and I did a lot of the Grapplers Quest because that was kind of the big one. And then that's how the trials ended up happening in New Jersey.
And they kind of co-organized it as well, right?
Yeah, that was the one in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I'd been coming up, but I think, you had these other women that were more established. And so then it's like it is every 2 years. It's like, how is this going to play out? Like, that's the exciting thing, who are the new people coming up and then who are the established people and how's that going to clash? And as they've been, they always say, like, there are levels to it and where's that going to play out, because some people can look great, but what's the level of competition until you see them against known quantities? And then that's exciting. Right?
Wow.
I've been beating Letitia and Megumi. Megumi Fuji, as you said, was probably more surprising because a lot of hardcore fans glorify Megumi Fuji as the pioneer of women's anything,
Female MMA
right?
too,
Yeah, she was Ronda before Ronda, right?
Exactly.
Like she was undefeated for a long time.
What did she feel like on the mat?
She kind of controlled you in the beginning throughout the fight, and then you caught her.
I caught her when she was going for a knee bar on me. Yeah,
got it.
She had good pressure, right?
Cool.
Like
Very
she
strong,
kept me
right?
in there. Yeah.
Good takedowns.
But
too.
I mean, I think that's everyone at a certain level and a certain size, right? You're always competing or practicing against people bigger than you, and then smaller people move a little bit differently, and you don't always have that experience, especially with smaller women every day, right? Like now it's a little more common because there are more women, so I'm sure down at Letitia's academy, you have a lot of high-level women that they can feel each other a little bit better. But, when you're training against bigger men, it's like there's a lot of space to get through, and then you go into a competition, you're like, oh my gosh, they're so tight.
Yeah.
Like they feel stronger than that big dude that I was just, training with because there's less space.
That's a good point. Bobby, that's a good point because how we think about it is when women train exclusively with men, we're like, this woman is gonna crush everyone, right? That's the mainstream or the casual mentality. But now she's saying that's actually not necessarily a good thing, right?
Yeah. But also everyone would say that. But back at that time, everyone was the same. There was only one, maybe two. And unless you were at Lekka's with the women's team, you were the only female there. So everyone was in that same boat training against all men too, right? So
you were still in a match. You was being controlled, but you felt that you were just waiting for the right opportunity, or kind of fell in your lap, kind of thing. How did you feel? I think,
I don't know, a little bit of both, right? Like, I mean, that's the great thing. It's not like a basketball game when you're behind. There's no way to catch up, right? That's wrestling and jiu-jitsu. It's like in boxing. There's always a knockout. There's always a submission. So no matter where you are, I guess
what I'm saying was you feeling the potential for the attack to come? Was you patient, or did it just kind of happen?
It's just being present and just being there. I think, I don't know that I necessarily think ahead or behind. You just try to be there and looking for what's presenting itself constantly.
And Letitia, who's the other person that you fought before?
I fought Letitia.
And how was that match?
I won by points.
Got it.
It was a good match.
It wasn't that match. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't. It wasn't as exciting in that sense because it was. I think it was more me passing. I think,
Got it.
Or I think I swept and then passed. So there wasn't any submission. I think I went after ankle at one point. That was about it.
Oh wow!
And why did you stop competing? Was it because of the weight class issues that they completely took out the minus? Was it minus 50 at the time or 55? That you competed in?
It was.
I think 55 probably. Because they have minus 55.
Yeah. It was 120, 119 pounds, I think. Well, part of it was that there was only two weight classes now. So
we were just talking about the over 60. The gap between Anna Carolina Vieira and Gabby, for instance, it's a crazy gap. It's tough.
I mean, it's like imagining if it was over and under 180 pounds, or
it's almost like an absolute for her.
Yeah,
it is an absolute division, right?
Because then people are
kind of.
But now you have the weigh-in thing this time. That's going to change things a little bit too, right?
Yeah. What's the weigh-in going to change now? What's happening?
The night before and then the same day. Probably.
Every day.
Yeah.
That's always
Yeah, I mean, it does make a difference for sure.
Yeah.
But it's kind of open-ended, I think, for the plus 60. I need to check on that. I don't know if there's a limit up to like 100 kilos, maybe. I don't know.
It would be cool if they
stop it somewhere.
If they started opening it up to maybe 3 or 4
more
weight
divisions,
again, especially because the sport's growing so much.
Yeah, I think there are more women now. I mean, women deserve 16 on both sides at least instead of 8.
Either 16 or you stay at 8 and make 3
more
or 4
divisions?
weight classes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Either way,
fair enough.
I think it just helps.
I think they'll consider it down the line because
Yeah.
women are really like women's jiu-jitsu, at least with the gi, is really big. Like in Abu Dhabi, for instance, people have more interest in some of the finals.
The kids coming up is insane.
Like Jessica Khan, like people like that. Grace Gundram. I mean, you have crazy young girls.
Now,
Tell us more about since you're here. Tell us more about Jean-Jacques as a coach, as a grappler,
mentor,
as a mentor, everything. I mean,
he's awesome. He teaches in a very conceptual way, which for me made sense to my brain from the beginning, and he's just incredibly supportive of all the students. I mean, everyone knows Eddie Bravo, and the freedom he allowed Eddie to develop all of that.
Well, being a creonch.
I mean,
no, but that's a big thing.
You know why? Yeah, but that's an interesting point.
Yeah.
A lot of let's say traditionalists don't like Eddie Bravo's system, right?
Right.
But Jean-Jacques is a traditionalist. But for him to, as you said, give way for Eddie Bravo to perform the way he wants to and develop that system, it's pretty. I mean, if you want to talk about flexible, that's being flexible and being tolerant towards different systems of jiu-jitsu.
Wouldn't happen with a lot of other instructors.
No, still doesn't happen with a lot of them.
I mean, I don't think there's any super specific style that he teaches. I think he teaches very conceptual so that you are understanding jiu-jitsu and movement and the principles of it so that you can deal with different situations so it's not a trend.
He's also one guy that can play to your level. Like some instructors need to crush their students all the time, and I feel like Jean-Jacques can play with your level. Like he'll work with you on your level, give you opportunities to explore, and then make you work out, give you puzzles and training.
Yes.
And there's some guys I've seen who are very high level. They're just looking to crush their students. And Jean-Jacques is not like that. He doesn't need to constantly like tap you out in like 5 seconds, 10 seconds. He can work with you to your level, give you puzzles, give you opportunities, let you figure things out, let you adapt, let you evolve. A little bit different than Hegan.
Yeah.
Hegan was like, oh God, I got to train with Hegan now. I was like, it's like you're going to get crushed. Like Hegan just was a crusher.
Yeah.
And Jean-Jacques wasn't.
Question, with Jean-Jacques, because you competed in the ADCC, did his grips and the way he introduced those grips into Nogi, because he was a pioneer in 1999. We talked about that. The over, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Did that help in any way? Did he actually train you for the ADCC or?
So I started with gi, and when I was a purple belt, I was competing, and there would be no one signing up, and it would only be at Mundials in Brazil at the time, and at Pans, or Pan Ams as it was called, where there would be purple, brown, black, which was probably a division at the time, and then eventually became purple and then brown, black. But there was no one signing up, so I started doing more no-gi with Grappler's Quest because it'd be 2 years and up or 3 years and up. I'm like, okay, I have a few matches, at least I can go get some work in. And because of that, I started doing more no-gi. And as Eddie was coming up at that time, developing his stuff and going to Abu Dhabi and doing that whole thing, then I started working with Eddie too and started learning a lot of his stuff. And then he came back from Brazil and opened his academy. And so then I would train at Jean-Jacques' gi, and then I would go down to Eddie's and train with Eddie too. And so I kind of got the best of all of it. Yeah.
Do you follow ADCC? Like, do you know any other divisions or any other fighters competing or anything? Or You
I keep my eye on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you look forward to the most? Are you attending first of all, or?
I am.
Oh,
I am. I'll be there Sunday for sure. Saturday, I'm
Finals.
actually
Bellator?
working at Bellator.
Yeah. Forum, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to sneak in a couple hours first, and then and then we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So
But
Sunday.
it's such a stacked weekend. It's crazy.
I know. There's a boxing event too, right? Errol
Yes.
Spence.
I might have tickets.
Yeah,
for
that's
that,
at Staples.
Spence Porter.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Man? This weekend is crazy.
It's a great fight, actually.
Grappling, boxing, MMA.
Yeah.
All of the above, you know.
All in Southern California.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The hub.
Anything you look forward to, at least with the females? Like, what do you? Are there going to be any surprises? You think in the like? Is Gabby winning it again?
You know what's interesting, because she was doing MMA right in
Yeah.
Japan, so she's been away for a little bit from straight grappling.
The timing might be off.
No, but she came back since 2015. Or actually, 2017 she started coming back doing gi, right? And she lost.
And then she did a Fight to Win or one.
Yeah,
of
she lost.
something.
She lost against Natalie.
Natalie, yeah. But it's a decision, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a decision.
But it was a little bit different timing from training MMA to no-gi grappling. So,
But
Yes.
I don't think there are any MMA fights coming up for her, because it's so tough to match her up with anyone,
Yeah, she
right?
had a hard time.
So she's like, I'm coming back and just doing
when was
this.
the last time she fought MMA? Okay. She fought the wrestler. When was that?
I met that old lady. I think.
The older.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
was that though? Like
Although
a
I
year
think
ago?
the older woman was younger than me.
Oh, really?
But,
No.
But it was like a year ago, right?
I mean,
we won't ask how old you are.
that sounded bad. Nobody's old when
Yeah.
they're in the ring. If they're in the ring,
yeah.
if they can go in the ring, we're the old people,
Who just said
and they're
that
the
she
young
fought
people.
an old woman though? Who just said that?
I know, man.
Well, they kept calling
There's
her
a-
that. I mean, I
there's a
think technically she was a grandmother.
Yeah,
I mean,
I fell into the trap of the mainstream media by calling her old woman.
She also fought a wrestler before that.
She was like a crazy, she like went into the ring to try to attack her or something. Like, it's a weird, you know how Japan is, man.
Yeah,
You know how
yeah.
Japan.
Depends
There was
a little.
definitely some interesting story
Yeah.
there.
I don't know how
But-
the.
I was
Yeah,
going to
go
say
on.
they did that with the Conor McGregor thing. The old man that hit him in the bar.
Yeah.
And it's like he's 51 or something. I'm like,
No,
That
he's
was
young.
bad though.
the same
Oh,
age.
yeah.
no, but he ended up being a young guy too. Like,
Really, the guy that Connor hit was
yeah,
a
I mean,
young
it was
guy?
like what, like 40 years old now, 50, even
No,
50.
I think they said 51, but
He
I'll say
looked old
it
to
looked
me.
like he had all white hair. That's all I'll say. and
Yeah,
I
he
bleached
looked
mine
like
and dyed mine.
70, 65. I fought. 51.
No, but
Maybe that's like the
As we
payment
get-
press.
Man, as we get
I'll
closer.
pay you $1 million to say you're 51, so it doesn't look.
No,
so
but come
bad.
on, you can. I can see you can still do it. You can still get into competitions, right? I mean, do you still train?
Yeah, I just competed at.
I mean, she doesn't
Well,
look-
I just did
Yeah.
Masters Worlds.
You
so-
wouldn't be someone that's retired. I mean,
Yeah, well, part of why I stopped competing for a few years.
You
was
had a
I
fatigue
got
issue,
chronic
right? Yeah.
Fatigue, yeah. So,
By the way, how did you know you got that? Like,
it was that same year I did ADCC. I went to Turkey for the FILA Worlds
okay.
thing there. We did. I had some personal life issues as well, and then they were doing a CrossFit certification. I just never recovered after that. I just felt like I had a cold all the time. So I found out I had mono, and they said, "Oh well." So mono is
Like
the
autoimmune disease
main
kind of thing, yeah.
main symptom for
Is that-
Epstein-Barr virus.
Is that why you became vegan, or doesn't have?
Yeah, it's eventually why I went back to being a vegetarian, which ended up being vegan. Yeah,
I'm a vegan
I-
now 2 years.
By the way, a quick question: vegan, does it help a fighter, or is it a myth, or what is it? Like, I mean,
I can only speak from my experience. I tried a lot of different things over 5 or 6 years, whether it was trying to train and condition the fatigue out of me, whether it was diet, all sorts of different things. I tried a lot of different diet. I went all meat, all organic meat, all wild game, everything. Nothing helped. And then I went to Hawaii, and I was about to quit everything. I was going to quit teaching jiu-jitsu and everything, and I was going to quit the MMA. Like,
You was
just
that
I was going
fatigued, though?
to I was going to
Wow.
walk away from everything, because I was like, I haven't been able to really enjoy rolling for 5 years, and that's what I love doing, is rolling. I like teaching, but I really love training, and I hadn't been able to do it, and I was like, I'm going to quit this because I'm just so frustrated that I can't do it
Right.
and start a whole new life, which I don't really know what that was going to be. And then my friend said, try this red marine algae supplement, it'll help. And within a couple days, I felt better. And the next week, I went back to Jean-Jacques, and I said, I want to come back, and I want to go compete at Masters Worlds in a week and a half. And he said, okay, get on the mat. And so I signed up for Masters Worlds. There was no one in my division. And the next day, someone signed up. And then the next day, I went in, and I said, there's someone in my division. Should I drop out? And he said, what are you talking about? Get on the mat. You just need 20 minutes. You'll be fine. So I just had one match, and I won that. So I've been training ever since.
But the green algae was mixed with being a vegan?
Red marine algae. And yes.
And being a vegan too.
Yes, and then I became vegan.
What happens as you become a vegan?
I train five or so days a week, 2 times a day, a couple days a week, like 2 or 3 days a week. I train almost as much jiu-jitsu as I used to, but I don't do strength and conditioning, which I used to do, because that seems to kind of push me over. But I'm slowly working on that now.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm slowly working on
that. That's amazing. Inspirational, man. For
and I think, I don't know, over time, I do different herbs as well, and just slowly figuring out, and then also listening to my body, and I can kind of feel when I'm overdoing it. I also had to change my life. I had to get rid of a lot of stress in my life. And
it's a much done, right?
It's a much bigger thing than just going vegan, but I think they're all pieces to it. I think it's kind of more holistic.
Meat is inflammation. Do you feel meat is
maybe? But I didn't eat. I was a vegetarian from when I was 13 years old to when I was 39 till that same year, and I started eating meat later that year. And I don't know if that eating the meat was part of all that assault on my system.
Yeah,
I know. I know. Yeah, I know. Vegans get a lot of heat, but honestly, I've tried being on a vegan diet lately, especially removed dairy, and I feel much better, man. When I stopped having this trip, I stopped having dairy.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of vegan, but I still had like a little, but I like a little low on the meat and stuff. But I feel really good, So there has to be something chronic in me.
Yeah.
Well, I think that also, people get on vegans. I mean, I'm not a social.
Well, Joe Rogan, I guess.
But I'm not like a social activist vegan.
I know
like
what you mean.
I don't eat meat because I feel better, and I'm not trying to convince anyone else not to, and I'm not trying to change the world
just you.
with it. It's like this is what lets me function and lets me train.
It's a personal choice.
Yeah. And so I think that's kind of the bad rap, is because some people are more socially aware and motivated in those directions.
Trying to enforce.
Vegans can be very intense, like.
In my whole life, I've never thought that my choice of what I eat. My choice of what I eat should affect anybody else. If I go to someone's Thanksgiving, I'm going to eat something before. I'll bring some bars with me, and I'll eat something after if they don't have anything for me. Like
you got it dialed in. Yeah.
I don't push it onto anybody else.
Well, Felicia, it was nice having you here. I feel again like the last time we could go on and on about a lot of things, not even fight related. Like now we're talking about being vegan and stuff like that. So it's good to see you. I've followed you a long time on social media. You're on my Instagram. I like what you do. I know you're a legend. I've read more about you recently and what you have done in the sport, and I feel like you're underappreciated, to be honest. So people need to respect the pioneers of jiu-jitsu, especially when it comes to women, because female grappling right now is growing, and people need to respect where it was before. You mentioned once upon a time there was nobody to train with. So I thank you for coming. I'm really happy you came, and I think your presence enriched today's episode, to be honest. So
thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Any messages you would like to send anyone or anything? Vegans out there, or
no, follow me on Instagram. Be my friend.
What's your
Felicia Oh, and then I have FLAU, Art of Felicia Oh. I make jiu-jitsu jewelry and
there you go.
art and different things. Grapple TV podcast, Luta Gear.
Wow.
Roll Dogs kimonos. I'm going to throw in all my sponsors.
Throw everything out. We don't mind. I don't mind.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Wow.
Do you know about them?
No, the name. Luta Libre.
Okay.
Very close.
Thanks for coming. We're going to take a break and come back soon. Okay, we're back now with one of the legends of grappling, I would say. In my opinion, you win the Absolute of the ADCC, you're an automatic legend. So Dean Lister, the master of footlocks, leg locks, the slayer of feet, whatever you want to call him. But thanks.
That sounds like
the innovator. I know. The innovator of foot fetishes.
I know.
You must have a foot fetish.
Foot fetishes or foot finishes, yeah.
Both.
My goodness.
Thanks for coming, man. Appreciate it.
Great to be
But first question is, why are you not competing? Are you retired?
Especially with this body.
No. I actually was. They gave me an option just to come, but it's.
Oh, so you were invited for?
Well, it wasn't an official invite. It was like, hey, we know we can get you in, and I want to make sure. I had shoulder surgery right about 1 year ago, so it seems like a long time. But it's actually kind of recent. Now I can train hard, but now I can start training hard. So if it was 1 month down the road, I would do yes. I would say yes. Okay. But especially, I'm not 27 or 25 anymore. So I'm starting to look more at these quality. Well, ADCC is the highest quality in the world, but let's say instead of doing 8 matches in 2 days, start looking at more focus on per match. More likely, I'm not saying no to future tournaments. Never would say that, but
better on your body.
I want to respect the tournament. I want to come in when I'm the strongest, and I can actually get in better shape than ever in my life because just a few decisions you make, and you can actually focus better in life.
I respect that actually.
Yeah,
for you to say that about the ADCC and respect it, because I'm not trying to say anything bad about anyone, but your approach is different than someone like Jeff Monson, who competed last time and he didn't look good. I think he lost from Chael. Was it Chael Sonnen that beat him or somebody? But I respect that you chose, to let it go and focus on maybe some super fights going forward, right?
On that exact subject, 2005. My biceps snapped. No, my bad. 2007, because I was going to face my bicep snapped. Right. Actually, twice. I got the upper end both times. That's my bad arm. And someone, not a famous person, but one of my friends goes, "Hey, Dean, you could like hide this injury, go in and lose to Roger, get 10,000."
Oh wow!
And but then I was like, I can't do that, But I'm saying this. Some people think that way. They think that way, and I think that would be. It would be obvious something's wrong with me. It would just look really bad. So I'm not trying to even look like I'm some kind of a saint, but I definitely respect the tournament. I don't want to come in and
not give a
makes
show.
Any sense to you. Yeah. So I said, no, I can't do that. And his intentions were good, like, hey, you can use the money or something. But it's like it's more than the money. It's like the highest level. And if I was to dishonor it by that kind of behavior, so that's it more extreme. But this year, I feel like I could be in much better shape in about 2 months. So
that's important because I feel that you are one of the top American grapplers ever born in history, in my opinion.
I'm going to tell you why. It's not even your opinion. You are one of 3 Americans or non-Brazilians to win the Absolute. If you count Robert Drysdale as he's half Brazilian, right? It's you and Mark Kerr.
Mark Kerr.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're talking about how many events right now? It's a pretty big accomplishment if you ask me.
You are. I really. Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Nobody expected. You did it in Brazil too. He did it in the in their state or in their place.
Exactly.
So it's a pretty big deal and
proper GOAT, bro. You are.
No, I would never say that. But that's something
in my opinion
you cannot say about yourself. So I think I would never.
I can say it about myself. In filmmaking, that's not a problem.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But you are though. I really do believe that. Mark Kerr too.
Yeah.
One thing about see, I have many friends in Brazil. I speak Portuguese. Whatever. I was married to a Brazilian girl. I must say though, I think if it was not one of the Finnish referees, I don't think I would have won in Brazil because they were very honest. They weren't biased to anyone at all. And I've seen it cases where, it's the same as any country. You go and they're biased for their fighters. It happens in the USA, happens in Brazil as well. Because we had these unbiased, internationally renowned referees, I think that's one of the main reasons that I trust ADCC.
That's the beauty of ADCC,
Absolutely.
right, Dean? It's all these guys that you don't see in IBJJF, you don't see in UAE JJF, you don't see in any organization out there. They're like from Finland, Mongolia, wherever,
Poland,
they don't care about Poland, Bulgaria. They don't care
Romania.
They don't care who Roger Gracie is. They don't care who anyone is, right?
You can have a drink with them in the lobby, but when you get on a mat, you do not recognize them. They're like completely disconnected.
I want to clarify that once again. Nothing against Brazil, but in Brazil with a Brazilian referee, yes, it can happen.
We don't have anything against Brazil.
No, of course not. Não tem nenhum problema com o Brasil. Acontece todo mundo assim. Yes, it happens all around the world like that. So it's just, I'm very glad it was just an internationally renowned competition and the great referees, and that's one of the things I could owe my success to, actually.
I'm all about nostalgia, and this podcast actually is an ADCC special. I'm not doing this as an episodic thing. It's just I'm here in California, so we're doing it. That event in Brazil, in 2003. It was the first event outside of Abu Dhabi. That's when the event started going all over the world. What was it like competing in that event in terms of the crowd, in terms of competing on those white mats, infamous white mats,
the
energy, the names? Tell us about that.
Yeah, you lose the skin on your knees and elbows. It's not a big deal, it's just that. I mean, but it is a comfortable surface except for the scraping out of the skin. I must say that, man, I had walkout music. It's interesting. It was cool. It was in a small stadium, but a damn stadium. We were on television, which is awesome. We were live broadcast on television, to where I mean, strangers were calling my hotel room. I mean, people could figure out where the fighters were staying. It was crazy how big that spread around in Brazil. Jiu-jitsu was always big in Brazil, but hey, I think it helped to grow even more. It was just, the level of competition that I found the day before, right, was the same. I found even higher the next day. But it was amazing how in one day I somehow found a way to improve so much in one day, and it's maybe a way to relax.
Wow!
And it was, I must say that the Brazilians didn't know I spoke Portuguese. Well, I spoke worse at the moment than I do now, but I could understand everything the corners were saying to their fighters in Portuguese. So I used that to my advantage. I didn't let anyone know that I won one match off of one was being a little stronger. Two were from innovations, like a knee lock, and one was the 50-50, which no one used
at the time, of course. Yeah.
I used it at the right time. And one was just off being tough. I mean, I actually won every match off of something else. So it was just my day. It was incredible. The Brazilians were actually they actually liked me that day. So that reputation I talked about, in the home country, the reputation. Like when Mark Kerr lost to Arona, man, they were throwing things at him and they were cursing him at him in Portuguese. And that was the day before I won. So for some reason they liked me. I mean, they put up with me, right? So it was a good day. It was a great day, I must say. I really had a good time in Brazil. That was the best day of my life. So I didn't sleep for 5 days. No drugs, nothing. Just didn't sleep 5 days. I couldn't believe it. And it got to where when I won the Absolute with the 50-50, which wasn't called that at the time, I looked online, and some older Brazilian guys who I respect a lot were saying this is a travesty. This gringo comes down here. Gringo means foreigner.
I know, yeah.
That's all. This foreigner comes down here, does these moves that it's not jiu-jitsu. And I was like, I felt kind of bad, but I looked and I saw like my medal and my trophy, and I didn't feel that bad. It's like it wasn't that big of a deal.
You still won.
Yeah, it was a great day. And the next day, it was just like, man, I couldn't sleep for 5 days. Really incredible.
This is the thing with moves. Like the 50-50 for the new generation, it's like a Mendes brothers creation. But now you're talking about using it in 2003 when the Mendes brothers weren't, I don't know what.
Who created the 50-50?
I mean, nobody created. I mean, this is the thing with catch wrestling guys too. They get upset when we call something a kimura. They're like, come on, man, this is not a kimura. This is like, So let's talk about that. I mean, you fought Josh Barnett. Yeah. There was heat in terms of jiu-jitsu versus catch wrestling. Maybe he created it out of nothing. I don't know, but
he's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu, though.
Yeah, exactly. And he uses.
Second degree.
Yeah. So what is this about? What do you think of this feud? Is it really like jiu-jitsu or the Gracies were master marketing geniuses that they adopted these moves and called it whatever they called it?
As much as I am a jiu-jitsu man, I'm loyal to my sport. That's my main background. You have to appreciate what an Olympic wrestler can do. I mean, I learned things from people like King Mo, Muhammad Lawal. I trained with Randy Couture. I trained with Dan Henderson for many years. I learned so much from these individuals, and they're wrestlers primarily. I did Sambo, which is, of course, Russian martial art. Technically, I'm two-time national Sambo champion, technically, a long time ago. That's I learned, that's probably why I got the idea of doing footlock so much. So I don't know, it's maybe like comparing, this Olympics, this country did better. Oh, so we're better. The next Olympics, the other country does better. No, we're better. So who's actually better? Well, at the moment, there's always someone who's going to be slightly on top. So it's just a competition. However, that usually occurs at the upper level. So it's not an unhealthy thing. It sounds like it is, but jiu-jitsu, wrestling, catch wrestling, I think in the end, people are going to learn and make it better overall. This is my opinion. So it's kind of frustrating. It is a little tacky sometimes. There's all this, in Brazil, they call fofoca, which is like gossip this, people just talking this and this and this. Happens all the time, but that's because the sports, they're competitive. And so who is better is the athlete that does the sport best at that day, as much as I can say.
Dean, I have a question. Your style was kind of unique. Who guided that style? Was it something you kind of created with all your travels, or did somebody kind of guide that particular leg lock 50-50 system?
Yeah.
Who guided you like that?
I was doing 50-50 back in the late 90s. I didn't call it that. I did not have a name for it. You could ask my friend Jocko. He's like, yep, back in the late 90s, Redeem was doing that. But
Wow.
I use it as a leg lock position because you can't roll out of it that easy. It wasn't a sweep or let's say a guard. It was just a foot lock finish, but no one could stop it really. I refined it over time. I think that, well, there's a guy named Kid Peligro, Jerry Costa, a good friend of mine. I haven't seen him for a few years, but he was there in Brazil, and he walked to me right after I won. I mean, I'm the gold medalist, and he said, "Thank God you didn't listen to my advice," because he told me I'm doing anything wrong. Footlocks are not going to work. So everyone told me this, but I was like, I think I have an idea. And I'd beat some high-level people, and I would lose sometimes because I didn't have the system refined enough. Just I felt like I'm doing something that's going to work. Just don't give up on it. I had some deep down, feeling, and it turned out to be somewhat true. I mean, okay, so I won.
Pretty spiritual.
If you win the super fight, does that count as Abu Dhabi gold or no? Yeah. So I'm two-time absolute, my division, and super fight. What is it?
Jean-Jacques, 2005. Remember that?
And then I took silver one time. So most of these are from leg locks. So it's the truth you can't deny. Although of course you could lose from any technique, you could also win from any technique. And at that time, almost no one was going for leg locks. And those who were, they wouldn't pass your guard. They were sambo specialist wrestling type guys who would take you down. They couldn't go for a lock. You'd sweep them, get on top, you'd win. So I always had the guard passing in my repertoire as well. I didn't just go for leg locks.
Why do you think people at the time looked down on footlocker? I mean, they call them zapateros. Is it true?
Zapatero,
yeah. So, I mean, why? I mean, it's a part of the body, right? You have a famous saying, I believe. You mentioned like the other half of the body is a weapon or something like that.
50% of the human body.
Yeah.
And I mean,
but why? Why do you think Brazilians, or was it not only Brazilians? Was it other?
You know how
traditionalists?
A boxer would think kicking is dirty, but it works, right? Yeah, of course they're different sports. So you can argue jiu-jitsu and submission wrestling. I mean, they're the same, but they're different also. So if you come from a boxing background, kicking is cheap. It's illegal, but you better respect someone who can kick correctly. You better learn how to stop it if you want to fight someone who kicks also. So the kickboxer is thinking, well, I use my legs and my hands. The boxer's like, no, it's tacky. So in Brazil, I heard this before that because of this, I don't know if it was a class structure problem or a rivalry between sports, the luta livre guys, which means freestyle in Portuguese, versus the jiu-jitsu guys.
That's the inside laugh, by the way. We have a project.
Yeah.
I've heard it said that it was the poor versus the rich class. I heard it saying it was the bullies versus. I heard all kinds of different sides.
It's money versus lower class.
I heard that as well.
Because if you looked at the early mundials with the gi, 0 leg attacks, right? 0, I think.
Well, it was banned in training when I started jiu-jitsu. It was banned. You wasn't allowed to do it in training.
So were you one of the first ones to use it, Dean, in any official competition?
To win Abu Dhabi for sure.
Yes, for sure.
Let's see, in the absolute, in the finals, like before, I mean, my record, I got 3 out of 4 submissions. Then Roger had to come by the next year and got 4 out of 4. So I had that record. I had the record for 2 years. Roger just beat it by, come on. But no one was really doing leg locks at that level or taking the chance because it was considered it's a risky move. But I had it down to where most of the things I was doing, they were not normal. So my opponent didn't know how to stop them or had not seen a way to stop them. Or I had a way to reset to another position, right? So it just happened to be that way. Maybe a different day wouldn't have worked out, but it worked out from that day. I think turns out the best defense you can have is to make something illegal. So if I don't want to learn leg locks, I can just say leg locks are illegal. But we go to a tournament where they are legal. Now I'm going to pay the price for not learning how to stop those things. So that's just a simple. There's a guy. What's his name? He's bad, tough. Was he from Mongolia? He took 2 times as a gold medalist in judo, I believe. And he would double leg everyone, double leg. And this upset people because it's very hard to stop this, but it's not real technically a judo throw. So you can't grab the pants now.
They banned it, but I think they reintroduced it again. I'm not sure.
Maybe like one leg on.
Every year they keep changing the rules.
Well, but they did it because this one person. So I'm saying, as much as I do respect the rules, and you know what, that's judo now, but now I think, unfortunately, you're going to have some judo players that won't be able to stop a double leg now, a double leg takedown. So you can make something illegal to try to keep the purity of your sport, or you can be open-minded and grow. And it is frustrating when you have people coming in doing things that are unconventional. But if the truth is happening, it's hard to be upset at the truth. The truth, something you can't lie about, in my opinion. So leg locks do work.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't remember seeing anyone before you in submission grappling. Was there anyone who's trying to throw them?
I mean, now it's a big thing, right?
There was no one I remember.
There were several that weren't well known. Actually, they were well known, but they weren't. Let's see, they were older than me.
Who
Guys
those?
guys I looked up like Eric Paulson.
Okay,
There
so
were guys
not Brazilians. They're still Americans, right?
You were not in submission grappling though. You're talking about MMA. In submission grappling.
Let's
before
see.
you.
Even MMA, about 1/3 of my fights in MMA are from like Bronx too.
Right.
There was, the guy I've beat in the finals. I heard he had the best footlocks in Brazil, Cacareco.
Of course,
Ferreira.
yeah.
That was
So-
a bit of
That
a
was a crazy fight.
So he actually went for my legs, which was
Right.
kind of.
He's a luta libre guy too, so he obviously.
How strong was he? He looks
Very strong.
insanely strong. That guy.
He also had the world's best guillotine, they said. He had me in the guillotine for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And it was funny. It was that moment where I'm thinking, okay, he's choking me. And like the crowd got silent. He's choking me. I hear the crowd going crazy and it gets silent, which is not a good sign. But I was like, just don't let go of that little light. Just hold that little light, little tunnel. And the light got bigger and bigger and I escaped. And then his eyes were he couldn't believe I escaped it. And that's when I knew I had the match. That was just my day. The momentum went my way that day. It was a good day.
Kakarek is one of the guys that doesn't get much respect when it comes to ADCC history.
Yeah.
That guy is consistent,
Yeah.
And strong and a beast. Yeah, he was incredible.
That day, he footlocked Janji Barrel in like 30 seconds. It is true he went for his bad leg, but he got Janji Barrels. Yeah. He got Compito Medeiros, who's a legitimate world champion, by guillotine. He beat Fabrício Verdun either 5-0 or 8-0. And Fabrício is one of the best. Come on. Yeah. And then, I had this maniac in the finals. It was, okay, I'll share some stuff that I heard in Portuguese, and it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. It just so happened to be he got to the finals in both divisions, but he lost twice to two foreigners. And look at that, took silver in the same day from the absolute. He's already one of the best. Matter of fact, a different day he could beat myself or Animal. I'm sure of it. Just wasn't his day that day, and people from Brazil were saying they were making fun of him in Portuguese that he let down the country. He's the only one who lost to the Gringos. This is just terrible, really. So this is like it's not even funny. It's the thing is I heard it being said in Portuguese, and it was very sad because he's a down to earth, humble guy, and he's freakishly strong. And he is an innovator. He had the best guillotine in the world at the time. He almost got me, by the way. Almost got me. Just thank God I somehow got out of it barely. It was very close. And also Enamo. This happens. He beat Enamo 2001 in Abu Dhabi by guillotine. And the next year Enamo comes and wins. So you never know what happens. It's just unfortunate.
A draw a lot of it too.
Yeah.
Timing of the day.
Yeah.
Man, it's good times with these historical
old
events.
He was incredibly, freakishly strong. That guy was.
I think his last event was in 2005, if I'm not mistaken.
Did he beat Heath?
Oh yeah, that's right.
In a MMA fight too. He knocked out Heath.
Did he?
Yeah. What's Heath's last name again? The Pride guy.
Heath Herring?
I think he
Crazy Horse, maybe.
He beat Heath Herring in an MMA fight.
Okay.
He was a bit of a
strong
freak.
guy.
Is it Crazy Horse his nickname? I forgot.
Crazy Texas.
The
Crazy
guy that fought Brock Lesnar as well, and
fought Nogueira.
That's Pride days, right?
Yeah.
Or even he fought him again in UFC actually. Yeah, man. But for Dean, for a jiu-jitsu guy, because you're like representing your martial art, who also did MMA, do you think that's a natural progression, or if you go back in time, you're like, I'm not doing that. I'm just focusing on grappling,
Well, back then when I started, it was not everyone wanted to be a UFC fighter, but everyone did it because of they wanted to learn how to fight, or it just wasn't. It was just different back in the day. So now people have the option where you can just be a grappler now. And when I was young, it's like your coach. If he didn't have any mixed martial arts fights, kind of wasn't. I'm not saying he wasn't cool. I'm saying all the old Brazilian coaches had tape of them fighting guys. Like guys come in, challengers would come in and they'd fight them. And it's different now. Now if that would happen, there's a lot of legalities, of course, and it doesn't really happen that way. It's just a different time. So the athletes are bigger and stronger now than ever. The sport is more complex now than ever. It's harder in some ways, but also it's not. People complain less when I was younger, and it was more brutal. Now the level is higher, in my opinion, and the athletes are stronger. The athletes are better. It's a more so in my day it was kind of the thing to do, or you actually just got a regular job and did it part time. But it was nothing that you could actually make a career out of just by doing grappling, or you open a school eventually after you're a black belt.
Can grapplers still do what they do without going into MMA because of the money coming into grappling today?
Yes, they can, because it depends. It's way more important how you market yourself. If you have some success, because you should have some, let's say as a black belt. Okay, you should have some. but you can market yourself very well, and you're a good coach. You could make the best living of anyone, really. If you're a great, the highest level grappler, and you cannot market yourself, you'll be okay. But it's just funny how now, especially with all this social media, there's people who know how to do it very well. They sell themselves very well. And those are people who make the most money. They make a better living.
Do you like the Gordon Ryan kind of Dylan Dennis style of marketing?
I guess who started? Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know.
Just that kind of marketing, this new level.
It's like
kind of hype marketing.
It's more.
Are you more into the traditionalist style of respect marketing and honor and martial arts integrity?
I am in that way for sure. I can't act like I'm something else.
Okay.
But if you have that gift of gab like Conor McGregor, I mean, then it's entertaining because he can just say something and make it funny. And
Dylan Dennis specifically, that kind of style, which is based on McGregor.
Yeah,
but everyone's talking about that again. Everyone's talking about the 99 kilogram division ADCC because Gordon is in it, and the way Dylan is in it. The trash talking, who can be.
He's in the same division.
Yeah,
really?
He went up.
He was smaller.
He went up because he doesn't want to fight his master. Murillo Santana's in.
Oh, okay.
So he went up.
Okay.
He's gonna have size issues, but
you can do pretty well if you're in real good shape. But of course, it's always harder to go up a division.
Yuri Simões, by the way, went to the heavyweight division.
Yeah, everyone's jumping around now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He wants to break the record.
I did heavyweight, and I faced the guy Orlando Sanchez, and I'm like,
we filmed that one in high school.
2015, right?
Yeah, 2015 in Brazil.
What does that feel like for you? I filmed that.
It was frustrating. I'm not complaining at all. I'm not saying I won the match. It's just that, the next day in the Absolute, I got it was fishy. I'm just saying. The referee is the one he says warning stalling. I was stalling. I
remember that.
My hand was raised, and I heard some rumors that someone influenced some famous Brazilian influenced that didn't like me. I heard that, but that person was kind of in charge in Brazil. So I don't know. It's weird. I got back in the mat. We took your point. Wait, what do you mean took my points away? The ref was like, I don't know.
Which match is this with?
That was against Yuri Simões.
Okay.
So the thing is, how come Orlando Sanchez didn't call for stalling at all? And he I mean, yeah. He had 3 matches, like not even 1 point scored. So it's like, hey, I'm not saying I won, and I'm not saying Vinny won. I'm not saying any of us beat him, but it's like if I got called points after the match, from one match, by the way, and I was up on points, by the way. How come it's just kind of a weird thing. So I think that was just a frustrating day against a specific style, and his build is you don't find many guys that strong of that stature. It's just kind of frustrating, you know. But he is a strong guy, I must say. Very strong guy. For sure.
It was a neg one he was winning. It was a neg one. Negative. Did he beat by -1, or was it how much was the points?
All 3 were overtime, 0-0, and they went okay,
Or neg one.
Yeah. I don't know about -1, but I'm not sure. Yeah. Mine was 0-0 overtime, double overtime. Also Vinny Megales,
Correct.
And so it's but if you play the rules, you play the rules, So it's fine.
Do you see yourself as if there is like a top 10 list of, the best grapplers of all time? I know you're humble and you're probably never gonna say you're number 1.
Don't be humble for
now. but like, if a list, there's a top 10 and you're not on it, will you be like, this is not an accurate?
No, it's if you ask me who's the best boxer in history, I could pull out like numbers, and if you think who's my favorite, I could tell you my 3 favorite. You ask someone else, there'll be 3 different favorite. You ask someone else, Muhammad Ali and Floyd Mayweather, and you ask me Mike Tyson and Joe Frazier. It depends on the person who you connect with, who you think is just. Some people are going to connect with someone more, and another one more. And you look at what I guess I'm known for is I'm hard to submit, and I have a really high win by submission rate. Like I only have a few wins by decision. So it's people who have more wins than me. You know what I'm saying? It depends on what you think. Mm-hmm. If you look at in boxing who had the most knockouts versus who has a perfect record, So
I see what you're saying. You're talking about like tangible stuff, right? Like wins, losses, submissions, whatever. But doesn't something like introducing leg locks and foot locks, like being part of an evolution, isn't that important too? Like, let's say John Jack being in 1999, introducing different holds and grips and stuff like that. That, even though he didn't win the Absolute, that's part of the evolution of grappling, right?
Absolutely.
You, on the other hand, so we have to look at that as well, right? So it's not only wins and losses. I mean, do you guys agree with me?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. There's, there's a man. He was named Jack Johnson, I believe. Yeah, he was the maniac. I'm talking with late 1800s or early 1900s. He was fighting
1915.
But that was let's say for the racial issues at the time, he probably endured the most hardship of anyone I can imagine, as far as what I heard and what I've seen. I've seen videos of him, and that guy he had old style. He was still a world champion. I mean, that guy did something specifically, say special, based on the time he was in and what he was doing. Maybe it's not tangible, like you're saying. So what Junior Machado has done, absolutely. There was even one guy that was, with gi doing the baseball head choke from the bottom. Mm-hmm. That was considered a no-no. You don't put your arms up; you get arm locked. Well, there's a few guys now. They'll grab your collar and let you mount them, and they'll put you out sleeping. That was wrong 15 years ago. That would have been considered really stupid.
Right.
Well, you put people to sleep. You got lucky. But someone does that. So what is wrong now? I think over time you get to learn some things that violate the rules, and it can overall increase the sport, in my opinion. Yeah.
I have a question for you. In my opinion, I could be wrong with this, Mo, than what you think. I think you can't be in that top list unless you win the absolute. For me, the absolute is the barometer. If you could step out the box, Dean, do you feel like to be the GOAT level status, you have to win an absolute? Is that kind of the barometer? I kind of feel that is.
Yeah.
But Marcelo never won an absolute, and he's still in that list.
You see,
right.
Top of the list sometimes to a lot of people.
Right. But I just think you got to win it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah.
No, that makes sense to me, and I think I would agree. But there's always one or two exceptions. Marcelo might be an exception. Because let's say someone took second in the absolute one time. If another day they could have won, but they didn't win. So, man, I don't know. Close. There's so many people who you could say.
But history only remembers the winners, though.
That's unfortunate sometimes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it just seems to be that way. Because Abu Dhabi is just, it's every 2 years, and you have one 5 champions, and you have 2 girls, and you have one the absolute. So you have 8 people overall every 2 years with a gold medal. One small mistake. I took second in 2013. I went for a sloppy leg lock, and Jamal used that moment to sweep me, got 2 points. And I had him in a triangle, but I had 30 seconds left. I know I'm not going to get him in 30 seconds. So I let go of the triangle, went to my stomach, he got my back, I mean, this is just kind of, it's just how it goes, I could have just held on a triangle and lost by 1 point, and I could have said I had him in a triangle, or I could take a chance. I don't know, no matter what, it gets that close, and you pay that price, and you have to wait 2 more years. So it's so exclusive, in my opinion.
What do you think of the super fight? Who do you have in the super fight if you predict? Galvao and Felipe.
Yeah, I've been training with Galvao.
He's a Galvao man.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures. That's why I asked him.
He's a Galvao man.
And Galvao, he always knew he always had leg locks, but now he's attacking really, really good, solid now.
Do you think there's extra motivation because it's his last fight or last match ever?
Yes, but also that puts more pressure on him. A lot more pressure. So but he handles pressure really well. I've seen him handle stress really well. He's a, he cooks off that stuff, and he really he performs to the next level every time. So we'll see. This is going to be a great match, I think. The pressure's like all the balls in his court. I don't know who is the favorite in this one. Who is the favorite? Like what on paper? What are people saying?
Is there an odds list?
Andre, probably.
Andre.
But this is probably the most interesting super fight in a long time because you had. The last one was Galvao and his friend Calazans, and the previous one was Cyborg and Galvao, which was very one-sided, right? And then
Braulio,
Braulio, so this one is like the closest one, and there's a rivalry between. There's a feud actually between them. Yeah. They fought many times with the gi as well. I've seen one of their fights I mentioned in Abu Dhabi, and I could sense there was tension between them. Yeah. Even after the fight ended, they were like talking to each other. So this is interesting to me, and this is probably why the ADCC organizers said, okay, just no more super fights, just focus on this one. And there's a belt. This is the first time a belt is going to be awarded to a super fight champion and an absolute champion. So
are they going to go back in history and give everyone a belt? Who?
I just said that. Earlier.
That was a beautiful. See that you saw that belt.
I actually said the same thing. I was like,
come on, you got to go back in history now.
One day, there's going to be an ADCC Hall of Fame. Oh, really? I truly believe in it, and all of you guys are going to be.
The WBC does that. They give back all the belts and stuff.
It's going to happen. Yeah. It's going to happen. Nice one day it's going to happen.
Dean wants his belt. Everyone at ADCC, Dean wants his belt.
Is there ADCC retirement fund? When I get really old.
Boxers Association.
Last question. What could get you back into competing seriously? Not like an impromptu super fight. I'm talking about a build-up, you know?
Yeah.
Proper camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something I need in my life. So I'm just waiting for the right opportunity, you know? But we have a couple things in the works right now.
Okay.
Supposed to face Craig Jones, December 22nd. So, you know, get myself. Wow. Yeah, it's me. It's actually
leg
selfish.
Lock versus leg lock.
I need that.
And you might, you know what's good? You should be rooting for him to win his division, because then the fight just becomes even bigger.
Of course, he's also
he stands a chance too.
But you know, this one problem with Craig Jones is it's a weird thing for me. It's not what you think. I'm going to say. Is I look for interviews, or I look for a reason that like the guy's cocky, or the guy's there's some reason where or especially when I fight, I'm like, there's a reason I kind of want to punch him in the face now. The guy is cocky. The guy he's a poor sport or something. Yeah, but well, it's not MMA, but it still is a match. I try to find something where I can go, okay, I don't feel too bad for that guy if he loses. But now, man, I don't want to. He's a nice guy, you know. He's humble,
super nice guy. You know,
so the best thing to do is keep it sporty. If he wins, if he wins his division. You don't have to sell it anymore. It's
of course.
Former openweight absolute champion versus.
I think he slept with your ex-girlfriend, though.
Trying to stir it up. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
I do have one question for you, Dean. When you talked about pressure, now I saw the intensity in your face. How important is pressure and dealing with pressure in ADCC?
That's what people say. Oh, you are your own worst enemy. You are your worst opponent. That's what they mean in many ways. Because how do you handle that kind of pressure? How do you handle that? It's a strange thing when someone says they think I'm going to lose. Like happened in 2011. I'm facing Rodolfo Vieira, and people are like, "There's no way." Even people told me, "Do you know who the guy is?" I'm like, "Yeah." They go, "No, we don't think you do know." And there was a guy in the elevator telling me this. He's a Scottish guy. He was telling me like, I can't do this Scottish accent. He was actually telling me I'm going to lose tomorrow, you know? And I was like, whatever, get out of my elevator, man. You know, get away from me. And I don't know, for some reason, I use that as a way to motivate me more. But some people want to hear the positive, like, you're going to win, you're better. I don't want to hear that. Everyone that functions off something different. I function off the negative energy for some reason. I turn it to something positive. That's something I've done in my career, let's say, relatively well, as far as making a negative into a positive. Everyone looks at something... let's say kind of pressure, how they can handle it. Everyone has something, a way they could use that to benefit them, hopefully. And that's the biggest contest of being a fighter, is how you can handle this adversity. What are you going to do if you're down by points? What if you're going to do if you're hurt? What are you going to do against someone who looks really tough? What about someone stronger than you? That's one of the scariest things. How do you get past that? So that's what I meant by pressure. I mean, he does handle pressure very well, Andre Galvan. So he can handle it.
We're going to see this weekend, man.
Wow.
Looking forward to it.
That's got me excited now, bro.
You going to be there, Dean?
I'm going to try and make up, yeah.
Try? Come on.
Can I sit in the royal box?
Is there a royal box? I don't know.
Just kiss my feet, man.
Okay, sure.
Man, thanks for coming. It was fun talking to you, and I'm really honored to have you here. You've been always, receptive to all our invitations, and hopefully one day I see you in Abu Dhabi as well.
Absolutely.
In any capacity, whether it's a visit or a match.
I'm down for all this stuff for sure. All that stuff sounds great to me.
Thanks for coming, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll take a break. Come back.
You know, I don't think like Felipe likes me. I don't think so. Felipe is a tough opponent. He's on fire. I know he will come like hot, but I'm doing my best as well to cool him down and get my spot again.
When that man is on a mission, he's a force. 24/7, he's thinking about it.
Man, this guy's an animal. every time that I roll with him, I have some fear.
Every time that you fight, there's always that
I think he really wants to finish his career in a good position.
It's kind of like a fulfillment of a journey.
Okay, we're back. Just wrapping up the show. Good show, man. Interesting show.
Yeah.
Felicia was interesting.
Yeah.
Dean Lister, always interesting, obviously.
Historian.
Yeah, Jessica Flowers, Kenny Florian.
Yeah.
I think it's a good homage to ADCC week, right?
This might be a career for you.
We planned this out like what? A few days only?
A few days ago,
Am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? Am I going to have time? But
this was fun.
This was fun. I hope people enjoyed it. Hopefully, we're back Friday and Sunday. I'm not
with
sure.
With the winners, hopefully,
Yeah, I'm going to try to do something. It's going to be difficult to upload all that stuff, but we're going to do something. Hopefully, this is not the end of it. But if not, thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Bobby, for being with me throughout the whole ride with all of the guests.
Okay.
And make sure you work out your shoulders, because it's going to be a busy week.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or you have a. How are you going to holding camera? Like old school?
I'm going to be
old
switching.
school?
I'm going to be switching with my guys. So we have a amazing camera setup.
Back okay? You're back okay?
Back is bad, but you know, what can I say? You know.
And okay. We'll see what happens this weekend. Exciting stuff. Thanks for tuning in. Ciao.